Have you heard the weird tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
Gentlemen, we 7 scientists have banded together because the government of Austria is in deadly peril. We have evidence that Austria is being dangerously undermined by the Nazis, and that nothing is being done from the standpoint of the law to prevent it. We have therefore resolved to take measures into our own hands and prevent this chaos. At our next meeting, we shall present the names of those in high places who attempt to divide and conquer, and shall decide then as to what action shall be taken against them.
And such was the organization in which Hans Minkler, the young, mild-mannered biologist of Vienna, suddenly found himself a member. Hans Minkler, whose whole life was dedicated to the preservation and the saving of human life. Hans Minkler, referred to by his classmates as the man who couldn't kill a fly.
Saturday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the incredible tale of the letter. Hans Minkler, the young biologist, only half heard the speech of the leader of the 7 scientists, for Hans was dreaming of his beloved experiments. His experiments and the pretty niece of Monsieur Gallet, the lovely Viel, who had been living in Vienna these past 4 years. Kindly Monsieur Gallet was interested in Hans Minkler's theories, and Hans was hoping Gallet might finance them.
Well, Dr. Minkler, I've studied the outline of your proposed experiments, and I've come to the conclusion that you can accomplish great things.
Oh, well, that makes me very happy, Monsieur Gallet.
How much do you think you'll need to carry on?
I feel quite sure that I could get along for a couple of years on 5,000. If my cell experiments prove successful, human life may be prolonged considerably.
I have all the faith in the world in Hans, Uncle.
My niece is certainly sold on your ability, Dr. Minkler.
So are you, Uncle. You may as well admit it.
Young men with your principles are all too scarce today. Europe seems to be saturated with men who claim they want to save mankind. They all seem to want to arrive at it through a destructive method.
Well, it's only a temporary condition.
Who do you plan to have assist you? Kurt Lassner?
Kurt? Well, I haven't decided yet.
Kurt is a fine young man.
Yes, he was a good student, but he's drifted away from his studies. He's become absorbed in politics.
Very well, Hans. I'll start you out with 5,000. Is that the way you want it, Viel?
Yes, Uncle, you're a darling.
I hope that someday I may be able to repay you.
See where that is, Viel. Come into the library, Hans. I'll give you a check.
Yes, of course.
Oh, good evening, Kurt.
Hello, Viel. Well, how are you?
Very well, Kurt.
You're very lovely this evening.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. The prettiest girl in Vienna. Is Hans here? I said I'd pick him up on my way downtown.
Yes, he's talking to Uncle. Talking business.
I've had a busy day. Not enough hours to go around.
Sit down, Kurt.
Thanks.
Kurt, why have you given up your career?
Biology? Oh, I don't know.
But you could do so much good. You were so well equipped to carry on in science. Think of the things yet to be done.
I'm going to do things. Great things.
I mean things that will really benefit mankind.
Well, that's what I mean, too. You know, you sound like Hans.
Hans is very sad about your dropping your work. He counted on your helping him in his experiments.
Oh, he'll get over it. Besides, those experiments can wait a while.
No, Hans is going ahead.
Who's going to help him?
I am, if no one else.
You? Well, how can you help him?
I can learn biology.
But it'll take a lot of money to do what he plans.
He has the money. It's all arranged. My uncle has financed him.
Your uncle?
Yes.
Well, I wish Hans luck.
And I'm going to marry Hans.
What? You and Hans? Well, what a surprise.
Yes, I've made up my mind.
I see. Well, I guess...
Good evening, Kurt. Glad to see you.
Good evening.
Hello, Kurt. Oh, have you heard the good news?
Yes, Viel just told me. And I wish you both good luck. I hope you'll be very happy. When's the wedding?
Wedding? What wedding? Oh, yes. Me, of course.
Typical absent-minded professor.
See, look, I have the money for my experiments.
Well, Hans, it's 7:45. We better run along. We have an appointment at 8.
Oh, yes, the meeting. I'd forgotten. Yes, I'll be right with you. Goodbye, monsieur.
Bye.
Good night, Pierre. Darling.
Good night, Hans, dear. I'll see you in the morning.
So Hans Minkler reluctantly attends his second meeting, and with Kurt Lassner joins the 5 scientists in the darkened room. The single low lamp on the table casts their shadows on the wall. The leader is speaking again.
Gentlemen, we have learned who these fifth columnists are. So it is our duty as loyal citizens to take action against these men. We've learned who the leader is, and naturally he must be the first one to go. In this envelope I have his name. We will now draw lots to select the one among us to carry out instructions which will be read later. Are you ready with the straws, Kurt Lassner?
Ready, sir.
This is an old and simple method, but since there are only 7 of us, it will suffice. Proceed, Kurt.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of us have drawn, sir.
Good. Here's the envelope containing the name of our victim. Who has the short straw?
Well, I guess I have.
Hans Minkler. Here's the envelope. But before you open it, we must tell you what the committee has decided to do about this man. He is to die.
Die?
And that task has fallen to you.
You mean this man is to be murdered?
Exactly.
What? You don't know me, gentlemen. I'm a saver of life. I wouldn't consider such a thing for a moment.
Herr Minkler, you are a member of this group. You know our secrets. It will be best for us and for you if you completely forget your scruples.
Oh, but I can't belong to a society with such diabolical purposes. Why, I didn't realize what this was all about. Oh, no, I withdraw.
It's too late to think about withdrawing.
Do you mean that you actually expect me to kill someone?
You have been selected.
You are fools. I couldn't kill a fly. I couldn't harm a living thing if the whole country went up in smoke. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. You're not scientists. You're a band of madmen. Fiends.
Sit down, Hans Minkler. We're not a band of madmen, and we are not fiends. We are loyal patriots of Austria who are determined to save our country. Any one of us might have drawn that straw.
Well, I don't want to be a party to such a plan. I'll not commit murder.
Unfortunately, you know too much about us now to pull out.
And suppose I refuse?
Then you will accomplish nothing. Not only will we eradicate our selected victim, but we'll see to it that you are eradicated with him.
Who is this victim?
Open the envelope.
Very well.
What?
Why, you are insane. The whole lot of you. Monsieur Gallet is the soul of honor. Monsieur Gallet is one of the most honest men I've ever met.
Monsieur Gallet is the leader of the Nazi party.
I don't believe it. Why, I'm to marry his niece.
Did you say Monsieur Gallet?
Yes, you know that's ridiculous, Court. He'd never do such a thing.
Gallet is the leader. We have proof. He also has a very lovely niece. And I'm sure you'd want nothing to happen to her. Would you, Herr Minkler?
No. No, I wouldn't. But you must give me time. Time to think.
There is nothing to think about. It has been decided. Gallet must be exterminated within 12 hours.
Very well. And there's nothing else for me to do. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, Herr Minkler. And remember, if you don't accomplish this task within 12 hours, we will be forced to take care of you. And if we can't find you, we will find the girl.
Yes, I understand. Good night.
Well, Hans, what are you going to do about it? You've sat in your apartment for 2 hours now. Which shall it be? 3 lives are at stake. The uncle's and yours and Viel's. Hans gets his car and drives to Monsieur Gallet's home.
Well, hello, Hans. What on earth are you doing here? I didn't expect you back this evening.
Where is Viel?
Why, she went to some friends. She probably won't be back till after midnight. What on earth's wrong with you?
Get your hat and coat, Monsieur Gallet.
What? Have you been drinking, Hans?
Get your hat and coat.
Now, wait a minute. Suppose you explain
There's no time for explanations. Get your things.
What for?
You're coming with me.
I was just ready to turn in. You better run along, Hans. You'll feel better in the morning.
Put up your hands, Monsieur Gillet.
What? This is the funniest thing I've ever encountered. Have you really got a gun in your pocket?
I have. I hope you don't force me to prove it.
Well, this is certainly a surprise. The meaning of all this?
I've just discovered that you're the leader of the Nazis who are trying to undermine the Austrian government.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Who told you such a thing?
There's an organization which is determined to eradicate all Nazis one by one, and you are the leader. Read this. It says leader Paul Gallet. Death.
This is the maddest thing I've ever heard of. I've been highly active in anti-Nazi work.
They say that's merely a cover-up.
Are you a member of this secret organization?
Yes.
You've been selected to kill me?
Yes.
It's unbelievable that you, Hans Minkler, could be mixed up in such a thing. I think you're being hoodwinked. I am an anti-Nazi. And if you plan to kill me, you must belong to the Nazi organization.
Get your things and come along.
What do you intend to do with me?
That's all planned. Come along.
Very well. You, give me that gun. You fool.
No.
You don't.
Monsieur. Good Lord.
Hans stands staring at the body of Monsieur Gallet for a few moments. Then, in a daze, he turns out the lights, closes the library door, and returns to his apartment. For the remainder of the night, he sits at his desk staring into the darkness, lost in thought. And then morning comes, and Viel at her home opens the library door and...
Well, he's been dead about 8 hours, Fräulein.
Who on earth would do such a thing? He had no enemies.
He was quite active in anti-Nazi work.
Yes.
Here's something we found on the library floor.
A pipe?
Yes. The bowl is hand-carved, has initials on it. As you see, the stem is broken. Have you ever seen this pipe before?
Well, I don't remember.
There's something else we found, a note, which reads, Leader Paul Gallet, death. Do you recognize the handwriting?
No.
Do you know anyone whose initials are H.M., the initials carved on the pipe bowl?
Yes, the pipe belongs to my fiancé, Hans Minkler.
Your fiancé. What time did you return home last night?
I attended a party and got here about 1 o'clock. I supposed Uncle was in bed. I didn't look in the library. I went straight to my room.
What is Hans Minkler's address?
I'm sure Hans had nothing to do with this.
Are you?
He lives at 13 Cronhead Street.
I'll run over there. Please don't touch anything in the library.
I won't.
Good morning.
Kurt, something terrible's happened. Uncle was murdered last night. The police have just left. They found Hans's pipe on the library floor. It was broken. They've gone to his apartment. Please come over right away.
Hello, Hans. This is Kurt. The police found your pipe in Gallet's library. They're on their way to your place. You've got to get out of the country immediately. Don't wait a moment.
Oh, Kurt, it's terrible.
Now, control yourself, Ian.
Oh, Kurt, I can't imagine why anyone would do such a thing. Kurt, do you know where Hans is?
Well, I suppose he's at his apartment. Hasn't he called you this morning?
He usually does, but he hasn't. They found Hans's broken pipe near Uncle's body. Kurt, I must warn Hans. I must let him know what's happened.
Hans' pipe, huh? Yeah, that's bad. By all means, phone him at once.
Oh, you call him.
Of course.
It's Kronigstadt 4347.
Right. It's ringing.
He must be there.
Oh, he would have answered by now.
Where could he be?
I haven't the slightest idea.
But he always called me before this. Kurt, it isn't possible. It can't be.
Now, just try to control yourself, Yale.
Oh, see who it is, Kurt.
Special delivery. Sign here, please.
Well, thank you.
Who's it for?
For you.
Kurt, from Hans. Good heavens, read it.
Leaving Vienna on important business. Contact me at 16 Rue de Roche, Paris, under name of Pierre Cabot, H.N.
Well, I don't understand it. What does he mean? What important business? Why should he disappear like this?
I've no idea, but it does look strange. Your uncle is murdered and Hans disappears. Oh, but what motive could he have had?
But they found his pipe near Uncle's body.
You know Hans had nothing to do with it. I'll admit he's always been rather peculiar, never seemed to let loose, always seemed to be on his guard, but I can think of no reason for this.
What could this important business be? He never told me of it. And why on earth should he go to Paris under an assumed name?
That is strange.
Kurt, that officer said something.
What?
Well, you know that Uncle was active in anti-Nazi work. Do you suppose it could be a Nazi?
No, why not? But who? Who do we know that's a Nazi? I certainly
Wait
don't.
a minute. You just said that you felt Hans was always on his guard. Do you mean you felt he was concealing something?
Well, there have been times when I felt that, but on the whole, I've thought of him as a slow-thinking, absent-minded professor.
But it does seem strange that the moment Uncle gave him the check, that this should happen and he should disappear.
Maybe he went to visit our old pal, Jean Renaud. You remember Jean? He was one of our classmates.
But I have a strange feeling that Hans wouldn't go away like this without telling me beforehand, unless something were wrong. Do you suppose that Hans has been deceiving us all along?
What makes you ask that?
Well, it suddenly occurred to me that he spoke French without the trace of an accent. And I remember Jean Renaud said once that he spoke English without an accent.
So what?
Well, if he did, where did he learn to do that? Certainly not by living in Vienna all his life.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Why didn't he tell me beforehand that he was leaving?
But he wrote you this letter.
Yes, but it wasn't written by the Hans I know.
Oh, I think you'd better forget about it.
Good. I didn't tell you this. The police found a note on the floor. It said, Leader Paul Gallet, death. It must have meant that Uncle was an anti-Nazi leader and he was sentenced to die. And if this ties in with Hans' disappearance, then Hans must have been connected with the Nazis.
Oh, darling, you're getting yourself all worked up.
You don't think Hans was a Nazi?
Well, I'll admit the way you've got it all worked out, it sounds plausible, but if he was a Nazi and he's left the country, what can we do about it? He won't come back.
But why should he go to Paris?
Well, Jean Renaud was a good friend of ours. I'm sure Jean knows nothing about Hans being a Nazi. Jean would never suspect him. Maybe Paris is his next assignment. Nazis are just as busy in France as they are here. Let's see that letter from Hans. He says here, contact me 16 Rue de Roche, Paris. That's Renaud's address, 16 Rue de Roche.
Oh, good. I just can't believe it. How could I have been such a fool?
I'll see who it is, darling.
I'm Captain Gruber from police headquarters.
Oh, come in, Captain.
Sorry to trouble you again, Fräulein, but we went to Herr Minkler's apartment. He wasn't there.
He wasn't.
His car has not been in the garage all night.
That's strange.
We found this writing on the notepad on his desk. Is it his handwriting?
Yes.
He's written the same two words over and over again, Gallet and Villiers, as though he tried to make up his mind about something.
But what's become of his car?
The car's been found.
Where?
In a public garage. From all indications, Minkler's left the country, probably for France.
Oh, why France?
We've discovered that Hans Minkler is a French citizen.
A French citizen? Well, he always led us to believe that he was a native Austrian.
Now, we'll want to check things over a little further. We'll be back this afternoon. Please don't disturb anything.
No, we won't.
By the way, what is your name, sir?
Oh, my name is Kurt Lasner.
Good day.
Kurt, what did you see? What were you looking at just then?
Well, what do you mean?
What startled you on Uncle's desk?
Well, nothing at all.
Here, let me see. Good heavens, I see it. Here on the desk blotter, Uncle's handwriting, it says, Find Hans Minkler. And it was Hans. It was. Uncle was trying to tell us who did it.
Maybe.
To think that he could be so low as to take Uncle's money and then kill him.
Oh, please, Viel.
I just can't believe it. I won't believe it. I mustn't.
Well, I'm sorry to say that all the evidence is certainly against him. Oh, come, Viel. Try to get this off your mind. Try to get some rest. The police will take care of everything.
Oh, yes, good. I guess you're right.
If Hans did do it, he'll pay. He's the one who'll do the suffering. Believe me.
But during the night, the Nazi hordes rolled swiftly into Austria and without firing a shot took over the reins of government. A few weeks later, France declared war. Then one night, Hans Minkler makes his way through the maze of Paris traffic and knocks at the door of number 16 Rue de Roche.
Oh.
Yes?
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
Is Jean Renaud in?
Who shall I say is calling?
By, Pierre Cabot.
Won't you come in, Monsieur Cabot? Major Renaud has just stepped out. He'll be back shortly. Was he expecting you?
No. Did you say Major Renaud?
Yes. Since war has been declared, he's gone on the active service list.
Oh, I see. I've been phoning for a week, but no one answered.
You haven't seen the Major in some time.
No, I haven't. I've been in Austria for several years. Renaud and I went to school together in Vienna.
Oh. Are you by any chance Hans Minkler?
How did you know that?
Why are you traveling incognito?
Well, yes. Where is Renaud?
I regret to inform you that Renaud has been in Africa for some time. He's due back in a few weeks, however. Did you know Monsieur Gallet in Vienna?
Yes. Who are you?
I'm Monsieur Deveau, of the French Sûreté.
Oh, police.
Yes. Did you ever accept any money from Monsieur Gallet?
Why are you asking me these questions?
You never accepted money from Gallet?
No.
Search him, Henri.
No, just a moment.
Sorry, Minkler. I'll take the bill for Larry.
Yes, sir. I don't understand all this.
You understand, all right. Well, so you never received money from Gallet. What's this check for?
Well, that's to help carry on my experiments.
Undoubtedly. Monsieur Gallet was helping you and quite a number of others to carry on experiments.
Others?
I suppose you say you're new at this game.
Game? I don't know what you mean. I had nothing to do with his death. Nothing.
Yes, I believe that. Why should you kill one of your own?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
If you were intending to carry on experiments in Vienna, why is this check drawn on the Bank of Paris?
Well, maybe he had a surplus of funds here.
Indeed, he did.
How did you know I was coming here?
We knew. Just what were your plans?
Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm not a spy. I was engaged to marry Galet's niece.
Really?
Some way I got mixed up with an organization which planned to rid Austria of all Nazis. They claimed that Monsieur Gallet was the leader in Vienna. I denied it. But nevertheless, I was selected to murder him.
Oh, I see.
I'm told that if I refused, they'd also kill me and my fiancée as well. I decided to get them out of the country. I went to Galet's home. My fiancée was not there. I knew there was no time to lose. So I tried to take him away by force. He was suspicious of me. We suddenly got into a scuffle. And then someone behind me fired a gun. I don't know who it was. And Gallet fell dead.
I see.
I went to my home. Next morning learned that they were looking for me. I got out of the country, and in a roundabout way, I came to Paris.
A good story. But it doesn't hold water. Gallet was a Nazi leader, and there's too much evidence against you, Minkler. Come on. Let's go down to headquarters.
2 weeks later, Jean Renaud returns to Paris. Then, 6 weeks after Austria surrenders, Kurt and Viel escape from the Nazis and make their way to Paris. Jean Renaud meets Kurt on the street and asks him to bring Viel to visit him at 16 Rue de Roche.
Come in, Kurt. Well, Viel. It's been a long time. How are you?
Excellent, thank you.
So you two are married. Well, my congratulations. Though I didn't expect it to work out quite this way.
No? Why not?
Well, I always had an idea that you might marry Hans Minkler.
Well, one never knows.
No, Kurt. One never does.
By the way, have you seen Hans? He's in Paris, been here for several weeks.
Has he?
Yes. Don't tell me you haven't seen him.
Well, he told us he was coming to visit you.
Oh, yes. He's in Paris. I wasn't here when he arrived. He left several notes. I found them when I returned.
But do you know where he is now?
Yes. Would you like to see him?
Yes, I would.
Hans is dead.
Dead?
What? Dead?
Yes. He was executed as a Nazi spy.
A Nazi spy?
Yes. I got here too late to help him. They had conclusive evidence against him.
Why, that's ridiculous.
Hans is dead, nevertheless.
But what happened?
Well, It seems Hans got into some trouble in Vienna and came to Paris to see me. In some way, the Sûreté here was informed that he was a Nazi, was coming here to carry on.
But who on earth would accuse Hans of such a thing?
I wonder. But they received a letter from Vienna accusing Hans. The Sûreté found a check on him from a high Nazi official. There was nothing that could save him.
A check from a high Nazi official? Who was the official?
Paul Gallet, Vier's uncle.
What?
Didn't you know about your uncle?
I don't believe it.
Whether you do or not, he was a Nazi. The Secret Service has known it for years. He may or may not have given the check to Hans for Nazi purposes. But the evidence was against Hans. Then the letter came to the Sûreté saying Hans was a Nazi agent. They found him here, arrested him. That's all there was to it.
But who would write such a letter? Hans had no enemies.
Would you like to read the letter?
Yes.
Here it is.
Hans Minkler, under alias of Pierre Cabot, has given evidence of being a Nazi spy. Locate him at 16 Rue de Roche, Paris.
And that's all that was necessary.
How awful. I can't imagine such a thing.
Notice the handwriting, Kurt.
What? Ah, yes. Viel. This is your handwriting.
It is not.
I'm positive. You wrote this.
No.
Don't lie to me. I know your writing. You wrote this letter.
All right. All right, I did. I was convinced that he'd deceived me. I was convinced he killed Uncle. Yes, I wrote it.
How could you?
Oh, I never dreamed Uncle was a Nazi. I thought Hans was a Nazi. I was determined to make him suffer. You believe me, don't you?
Yes, Viel. I believe you. But I'm awfully, awfully sorry for you.
Oh, poor Hans. Poor Hans. Oh, I'll never forgive myself.
Yes, Viel. What a terrible injustice you have done. But someday, perhaps you'll learn what really happened to your uncle. It wasn't Hans who killed him. Hans didn't even have a gun, just a pipe. But Hans wanted to get him safely out of the country. And Kurt knew that Hans would never go through with the order of the Secret Seven, so he followed Hans. And when he saw what was happening, he shot Gallet and disappeared and let you think Hans did it. Because Kurt was in love with you, too, Viel.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you the strange tale of Out of the Fog. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler. No, it wasn't a dream. It was too real. This is what I've been afraid of. I know you don't believe me. You think I'm insane, both of you.
Friday night, and CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the weird story of the Avengers. In the great Southwest, a range of high mountains extends as far as the eye can see. This is mining country, silver and gold. Halfway down the mountain is a tiny village, the mining town of Rainbow, a raucous sort of place composed of a number of stores, many saloons and the Federal Land Office, where the fortune hunters file their claims. 15 years ago, Rainbow was a rip-roaring village, and in a back room of the Crystal Palace bar, a young man and a young woman hold an earnest conversation.
Tell me, Miss Martin, how long have you been in this town?
Oh, about 2 years. Came here from Kansas City.
And you know my brother, John Maddox?
Well, I certainly do.
How well do you know him?
Well enough. He came out here a year ago, and he's been hiding out up on the mountainside ever since. Got a cabin up there.
Prospecting, of course.
Who isn't?
How well do you know him?
Oh, he used to come into town quite often. I got acquainted with him in here. First, I fell for him in a big way, but he seemed to resent it. Finally gave me the cold shoulder.
Well, he has a wife and a 5-year-old daughter back east.
That's what he said, but I didn't believe him. He's a bit nutty, isn't he?
Nutty? No, I wouldn't say nutty. He's a smart boy. He's an engineer. Graduate of the State School of Mines.
He is? Well, what's he doing here, living like a hermit?
I wonder. So he gave you the cold shoulder, huh?
He certainly did.
Well, John is an educated mineralogist. He came out here to make a strike. And if anyone does, he should be that one. Maybe he's located a vein of ore.
What do you have on your mind, Mr. Maddox?
Well, I thought maybe you'd seen him visiting the assayer's office a little more often than usual.
And what if I have?
Or the land office?
Go on, Mr. Maddox.
Well, I wouldn't be interested in knowing the activities of an ordinary prospector. But a graduate mining engineer like John, well, he may have a lead on something good.
Yes?
And I thought, that is, I heard you might be more or less familiar with his activities.
That's right. I am.
And maybe you'd like to come in with me.
What do you mean?
You know where he's been working. You know the area he's most interested in, so if you let me know, I'll beat him to it. We'll split.
Split?
That's right. How about it?
Sure. Why not? You know, I think I'm going to like you, Mr. Maddox.
Frank is the name, Melva.
All right, Frank. This is it. He has found a spot. It didn't mean much to me until now, but he's been working on the same location for a week or more. I'm sure he's hit something.
Good. That's all I wanted to know. I'll just drop in and surprise him. See you later, Melva.
See you later, partner.
And so that night, John Maddox is working on some maps and papers. The meager lamp throws a dim light about the room. For an hour, he sits at the table. Then suddenly the silence is shattered by a sound from the kitchen.
Who's there? Come out of there. Come on. What are you doing here? What do you want?
Nothing.
How long have you been in that kitchen?
Why?
So you're the little thief that's been stealing my things, huh? What are you after this time?
Nothing.
I know who you are. You're Tony Watson.
So what?
Just this. You're the one who pinched my camera, my binoculars. Yes, and several other things.
I didn't know.
And I'm turning you over to the sheriff right now.
Sheriff! No, I didn't take them. I didn't. I didn't steal anything, but...
But what?
I know who did.
Well, you little liar. You're the one. And believe me, you're caught on the job this time, and I'll... just a minute. Sheriff.
I didn't.
Hey, come back here. Why, that little devil. Just a second. Well?
Hello, John.
Frank.
That's right, your brother Frank himself.
Come in. What do you want? What are you doing here?
Oh, just dropped in town. Thought I'd see how you were doing.
Getting along all right.
But you might like to hear about your wife and your daughter.
Is that why you came here?
Your wife is very well. Your daughter's just 5 years old today. I'm still wondering how you're getting along and when you're going to send for them.
I know all about that. I'm going to send for them very soon.
Are you? All going to live in this little shack?
Certainly not. There's something a lot better by the time they arrive.
Will you? How? Didn't have a dime when you left.
Yeah, thanks to you and your lies. I know who's responsible for Father's cutting me off with only $1. You.
Have you struck pay dirt here, John?
No.
What are all these interesting papers and maps on the table?
Nothing.
Oh, but they must mean something.
Get away from that table. Let them alone.
Put up your hands and stand
if
back.
If you touch those papers...
Get back there. Uh-huh. Interesting. So you have struck something. All ready to be recorded.
Frank, if you dare, I'll kill you.
Why do you think I came here?
you
Don't
dirty-
worry, I'll settle up later. I'll see you get a share.
My wife and my daughter, Doreen, they haven't a cent. I've not been able to give them anything in months. You can't do this.
Do what?
You put those papers down, Frank, or I'll break your dirty neck.
You'd better stay where you are.
Oh, no, I'll kill you. First, I'll kill you.
John, you're crazy. Keep back. Keep away.
You crazy fool. I told you I'd shoot. You're the fool, Frank. You're the fool. You won't get away with this. I'll see to that. You'll pay, Frank. I'm not through with you yet. You and everything you hold dear will be taken away. You will pay it back, Frank. To me and mine. If I have to climb out of my grave.
John. John!
Frank stands for a moment, then stuffs the papers and maps into his pocket and rushes to the door and into the night. A few seconds later, a face at the window disappears and suddenly reappears through the back door. And a boy stands looking at the inert figure on the cabin floor.
Huh. Serves him right. You won't tell the sheriff anything about me now.
15 years have passed, and now the little mining village of Rainbow is a thriving city of mines and smelters. And the richest mine of all is the one owned by Frank Maddox. And Frank Maddox rules the city. Frank is married now and has a child, a girl of 5. The child has been ill for days. And tonight, as Frank Maddox steps through the door, his wife meets him with a strange, vacant stare.
Melba, what's happened? How is she?
She's... Oh, Frank.
All those doctors, and they couldn't save her.
No. They said she didn't have a chance. They did their best.
Fools, what good are they? What are they paid for? They don't even know what was wrong with her.
No, Frank. But, well, whatever it was horrible. She died in agony.
Specialists. I told them they could name their own price. The sky was the limit.
It didn't seem to make any difference.
Oh, the poor little thing, the poor baby.
It didn't seem to be anything serious at first. It was just a week ago. She was sitting at her desk, drawing pictures, and then all of a sudden she started to gasp for breath and fell to the floor in a faint.
Yes, I know.
And then she lapsed into a coma. Oh, Frank. Frank, what was it? Why?
Darling,
I couldn't think.
what is it?
I can't get my breath.
Here, drink this.
Frank, I didn't want to tell you, but I'm frightened. I've had it for several hours. It's just like the baby. The same thing.
The baby and now you. I know what it is. It's him. It's John.
John? Your brother?
Yes, I knew this was going to happen. John told me.
But John's dead.
The night the baby took sick, I saw him in a dream. He told me something was going to happen to us, and last night I saw him again. He was grinning and laughing. He told me that...
Told you what?
He told me that he'd finally reached through to me, that he'd finally made contact.
That's crazy.
He said tomorrow would be a sad day for me. Today.
But it's a dream.
I know, but he said something else. He said that now his wife was dead, that the sooner I made things right with his daughter Doreen, the better.
Frank, that's nonsense.
No, there must be something to it. I'll find the girl. I'll get her down here. I'll try to fix things up. Maybe that'll stop all this.
Frank, please use your head. It was a dream.
I've got to find that girl. I'll send Anthony to find her. I'll explain the whole thing to him. He can find her.
But why tell him about it?
Well, he's my assistant. I confide in him. He'll find her.
Very well, then. Tell Anthony. Tell him to find her and bring her here. Because if you... Frank.
Melba, darling.
Please find that girl. Doreen.
Frank Maddox carries his stricken wife to her room and calls the doctor. The next day, he explains in a way to his young assistant, Anthony Watson. Anthony rushes to the east to locate Doreen Maddox, and needless to say, he does. Before she knows what it's all about, she's aboard the train with young Anthony.
Didn't you even know you had an Uncle Frank?
Oh, yes, of course. But I didn't know much about him.
When did your mother die, Doreen?
5 years ago. She committed suicide.
What became of your father?
Oh, he went west to prospect for gold or silver or something. But he got into trouble. Someone shot him, and that's all I know about it.
Has your Uncle Frank ever offered to help you?
No, not that I know of. Mother never mentioned it if he did.
He's a very rich man, you know, and, as I've told you, very ill.
Ill?
Well, he's sort of mentally ill, as well as physically.
Oh?
Doreen, are you... That is... Well, a girl as lovely as you should be engaged or in love.
But I'm not.
You're not? Really?
No.
Oh, that's wonderful. I can't believe it.
Well, it's the truth. Whether you believe it or not.
Oh, I believe you. And, well, I'm glad to hear it.
And so you see, Doreen, I'd completely lost track of you. I wondered about you and your mother since the tragic death of your father.
Mother died several years ago, Uncle.
Yes, I should have attempted to locate you long ago.
Should you?
Yes, you're my brother's child. It was my duty to look after you. See that you want for nothing.
Oh, but I've been getting along all right.
I've not been well, Doreen. I've been quite ill lately. I've been terribly upset, my nerves.
Perhaps you've been working too hard.
No, it isn't that. Doreen, I'd like you to stay here. Make this your home. And I have a check for you, a little present, $5,000.
No, please, Uncle. That isn't necessary.
You must accept it, Doreen. You must.
I don't need it. I'll be glad to stay here with you until you're better. But really, I don't know what I'd do with $5,000.
I'd feel better if you accepted it. And perhaps your father would...
Father would what?
Doreen, I must tell you. I've got to tell you. It's driving me mad. John is trying to kill me.
Oh, Uncle. Father's been dead for years.
I know, but he died hating me.
Hating you?
He blamed me for his having been cut off with only $1 in our father's will. But he was wrong, and... Well, now he's trying to kill me.
Oh, I can't believe such a thing.
I have horrible nightmares. John appears to me, always threatening me. He came to me the night my little daughter became ill, and then after she died. He came again when my wife was stricken, and said that after she was gone, it would be my turn.
But that's just your imagination, Uncle. Well, get it out of your mind.
I can't. I'm afraid to go to sleep.
You only see him in your dreams?
Yes, but each time he comes nearer, closer, more real. Oh, it isn't just imagination. I'm afraid that one of these days I'll see him when I'm not asleep.
And you think my being here will help matters? Is that it?
Yes. If he knows you're here, that I'm taking care of you and have your welfare at heart, perhaps he'll let me alone.
Prove to him that he judged you wrongly?
Yes. I must make him understand. I can't go on this way. I'm a physical wreck. I'm afraid my mind will snap.
I understand, Uncle. I'll try to help you. But you must try to get this off your mind.
Yes, I'll try.
You'd better go to bed now, Uncle.
Please, take the check.
Very well. Good night.
An hour passes, and in spite of himself, Frank drops into a fretful sleep. He moans and tosses about, and as usual, he dreams of John again. Sees him come through the wall and stand in the center of the room.
You won't get away with it, Frank. Everything and everyone you hold dear will be taken away. You'll pay it back, Frank, to me and mine.
No. Let me alone. Anthony! Doreen! Doreen!
Uncle! Uncle, what is it?
What's happened?
Doreen, he was here just now. I saw him. I heard him laughing.
But, Mr. Maddox, that isn't possible.
I heard him, I tell you. You could hear his laugh all over the house.
I heard nothing, Uncle. Not a sound.
I woke up, I tell you. I heard him.
But, Uncle, you must have been dreaming. Well, I haven't been asleep since I left you. I've been reading. I didn't hear a sound.
You didn't hear anything, really?
No, not a sound.
You, Anthony?
I heard nothing. You were just dreaming.
No, it was too real. This is what I've been afraid of. I know you don't believe me. You think I'm insane.
Uncle, please.
Yes, maybe I am.
Come, Anthony.
No, Doreen. Don't go, please.
But, Uncle, there's nothing I can do. It's up to you. You must convince yourself that it's all imagination. Good night, Uncle.
And then the next night comes, and Frank dreams again, the same frightful dream. John appears, repeats the same words, and laughs in the same way. Frank is wide awake now, shaking with fear, and all the while trying to convince himself that it's only his imagination. Then the bedroom door opens suddenly. Doreen steps into the room. Her face is white with fear. She trembles as she moves slowly toward the bed.
Uncle.
Doreen, what is it? What's wrong?
Uncle, just now, I heard something.
What? Doreen, what did you hear?
I must have been dreaming. I must have. But it was so clear.
Your father?
Yes. Yes, I heard him. And he was laughing.
Then if you heard him, it must be true. He has come back.
Oh, did you hear it, too?
Yes. Yes, he was here in this room. What did he say to you?
I can't remember. I was so frightened. But I heard him. And that laughter.
Now you believe me. Now you know I'm not imagining things.
Oh, Uncle, I don't know. I'm so frightened I don't know what to think. I can't stay here any longer. I've got to leave. I can't stay another night.
Oh, Doreen, please, don't go. Not yet. Promise that you'll stay just a while longer. Please.
But, Uncle, All right, I'll try. I'll stay.
Then comes the next night, another dreadful night of horror. Frank tries his best to control his mounting fear as evening passes and midnight comes. He fights sleep, the sleep that brings him nothing but horrifying dreams and the voice of John. But finally he can hold out no longer, and his eyes close. A half hour goes by, then...
Frank, you're not asleep, Frank. You're wide awake, and this is real.
John, what do you want? Tell me. I'll do it. I'll do anything.
I told you you'd pay. Everything and everyone dear to you would be taken away. At this very moment, your wife is dying, Frank. First your daughter, now your wife, and then you.
John, please, I'll do anything.
Then sit down at that table and write. Write a will. Everything to the one it belongs to. My daughter, Doreen.
Yes, I'll do it.
And a confession, Frank.
Confession?
A confession that you came to my cabin that night and killed me.
Oh, no, I can't, John.
You can and you will.
They'll hang me.
They won't hang you.
No?
Write the will and the confession.
Yes, but I'm afraid that...
They won't hang you. Because in just 1 minute, you will be dead.
John,
Hurry,
no.
Frank. You haven't much time to save your soul. You're going to have a stroke, Frank. In just a minute, you'll feel a sudden beating of your temples. A stroke is what they'll call it. And you'll be dead. Hurry.
Yes, I'll write it. I will.
Your conscience will be clear, Frank, and that'll be best for you, I know. I said I'd rate you if I had to crawl out of my grave.
There it is. Now, please leave me alone, Frank. Please, please.
It's too late, Frank. You're going back with me. Look at the clock. 15 seconds left. Now it's starting. Your head is beginning to whirl. Strange sounds beat in your ears. Faster. Faster. Do you hear?
Yes. Oh, please don't, John.
5 seconds. There it is. You're dying, Frank. This is the end. The end of Frank Maddox.
No, John! John! No!
Uncle Frank! Anthony!
Doreen, what's happened? I heard him screaming.
Anthony, I think he's... Feel his pulse.
I can't find it. Not a trace.
Anthony, is he...
I don't know. He's had a stroke, I think.
I'll call the doctor.
Yes, I'll have to go after him. His car is out of order. Come on. It may be too late for the doctor, but we'd better get him anyway. Use this phone and tell him I'll be there in a few minutes.
In here, doctor.
What happened to him?
I think he had a stroke.
A stroke, eh? Well.
We heard him screaming, and when we got here, he was unconscious.
Well, he's dead. But he didn't have a stroke.
What?
You can see for yourself. He's been stabbed in the heart. You don't need me. You want the police.
You say, miss, that you heard your uncle screaming?
I did.
What did it seem to be? A scream of pain?
No, I couldn't make out what it was. But it sounded as though he was horribly frightened. It seemed as though he was
pleading with someone.
Did you hear him, Anthony?
Yes, it sounded just as Doreen said, as though someone or something were after him.
What do you mean by something?
Well, I just used that as a form of expression.
And when you reached him, he was on the floor, unconscious?
That's right.
Was he dead?
We didn't know. I couldn't find any pulse, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's why I went for the doctor.
And you didn't notice the knife wound in his chest?
No.
Did you see it, miss?
No, it may have been there, but I didn't notice it.
Are you sure he didn't have a stroke, Doctor?
Positive. He may have had a collapse, fainted, but there was no stroke. He died from this stab in the heart.
What sort of instrument would you say was used?
Well, I'd say a long, thin knife, about a half-inch wide.
Like a letter opener?
Yes, sort of a stiletto.
Doctor, had you been treating Mr. Maddox lately for any particular ailment?
Well, I've been attending him frequently of late.
What was troubling him?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Are you sure?
Well, I couldn't find any definite physical trouble, but he was becoming terribly run down. Seemed to get worse each day. He couldn't eat nor sleep. Extremely nervous. Hypertension. I gave him sedatives and tonics, but they seemed to do no good, so I finally came to the conclusion that it was mental.
Mental? What do you mean?
I think he developed some sort of phobia, a fear. What, I was never able to determine. In time, it would have resulted in insanity and finally death, or perhaps a stroke and death. But in this case, it was not a stroke.
You've been attending his wife?
Yes.
What is her ailment?
Carcinoma, but she doesn't know it. There's nothing more I can do for her, except alleviate the pain.
Miss Maddox, from the tone of your uncle's screams, would you say that there was some person in the room with him at the time?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? What does that mean?
I mean, he may have thought someone was here with him.
May have thought someone was with him.
Yes, that is...
Well, from all appearances, there was someone with him. The someone who stabbed him. Anthony, was Miss Maddox in this room when you came in?
No, we met in the hall and came in together.
Neither of you saw the knife wound.
I'm sure I didn't.
Doreen, you just said that he may have thought someone was here in this room. What do you mean?
Well, he was afraid of...
Afraid of what? Afraid of who?
Afraid of my father.
What? Why, your father's been dead 15 years.
Yes, but that's just it. I may as well tell you. He was afraid my father was trying to kill him. That's what was wrong with him, why he couldn't sleep.
Oh, bosh, now it's spooks.
No. He said that father appeared to him every night and threatened him.
Threatened him? Well, all right, so he threatened him. Why?
He said father hated him, that father thought Uncle Frank had caused him to lose his inheritance.
Well, Doctor, you think that's what was wrong with Frank?
Could have been. Quite possible.
All right, I'll grant you that. But no spook produced that knife wound. Doreen, do you believe that your father lost his inheritance because of your uncle?
No, I do not.
Are you sure?
I'm sure father did not lose his part of the estate because of Uncle Frank.
Are you sure? Could you prove that?
Well, no, I couldn't. But I never heard father mention it. I never heard him accuse Uncle Frank.
What brought you here?
My uncle sent for me.
Why?
Because he was afraid of my father. He thought my being here might help matters.
That's right, Captain. He sent me for Doreen. I located her and brought her here.
Oh, me. Oh, my. This gets worse and worse. You know all about it, too, did you?
Yes, Mr. Maddox confided in me. He had the idea that if Doreen were brought here and he showed good intentions toward her, that John would leave him alone.
Oh, poor John. What a busy guy.
It isn't funny.
You said it. Frank Maddox has been murdered, and it wasn't a spook. I know who did it, and I know why.
What are you talking about?
Frank Maddox didn't send for her. She came here of her own accord and for a definite reason.
She did not. I brought her here.
You're lying. You're trying to cover up for her.
I am not.
Because you're in love with her. Anybody can see that.
Well, what if I am in love with him? That doesn't have anything to do with this.
Frank Maddox sent me for her.
He did not. She knew that Frank was the cause of her father losing his inheritance. So she came here to kill him, and she did.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Why would she kill him? What would she gain by that?
Ever hear of revenge? If it hadn't been for Frank, her father would have been wealthy, and so would she.
But she didn't know about her father's accusations until Frank Maddox told her himself.
Oh, then you admit that she does know about it now.
I knew nothing about it until Uncle Frank told me. But I still think father was wrong.
Whether you knew about it before you came here or learned it after you got here, what's the difference? It's a motive. You stabbed him. You left the room, and then you met Anthony in the hall. You stuck Miss Maddox, and you haven't a chance.
Wait a minute.
Mrs. Maddox, don't come in here.
And why not? Why shouldn't I come in here?
You shouldn't get up. You should...
I know all about it. I know what's happened. I've heard every word.
You're very ill, Mrs. Maddox.
I know. I heard you. And now I know what's wrong with me. I know what carcinoma is, Doctor.
Please go back to bed.
No, not just yet. Well, this girl, Doreen, you're wrong. She's innocent. She had nothing to do with it. That is, not directly.
What do you mean, Mrs. Maddox?
She didn't kill Frank. I did.
You?
She's perfectly innocent. Frank did send for her. He was afraid of John. He dreamed about him every night. He did think John was trying to reach him from the grave, trying to kill him. It was his imagination, I know, but he really believed it. And he had a good reason to believe it.
What reason?
I've heard Frank moaning and yelling for weeks and weeks. I heard him tonight. I came in here and found him on the floor. He'd made a will, this paper, leaving everything to Doreen and explaining why. Oh.
Sit down, Melba.
Yes, well, he came out of his faint, and I found this will. I went wild when I saw it. He tried to get it away from me. He said it had to be that way. We struggled for it, and I took the paper knife and stabbed him. I went back to my room, but I've been standing outside the door. I heard everything, particularly what you said about me, Doctor. So what does it matter? This girl is innocent.
What is this paper? Let's see it.
I'll tell you what it says. It leaves everything Frank has to Doreen. And the reason why? Frank killed John.
What?
Yes. It was all my fault. I knew John had made a strike, and I told Frank about it. Frank went to John's cabin and killed him, took the maps and the papers and filed a claim. I was the one responsible for everything. But it all rightfully belongs to Doreen. And now, well, now that I've heard the doctor's sentence, what does it matter?
Well, Doreen, that was lucky for you. Lucky that Melba was standing outside the door and heard the doctor. But, oh, what I know about you, Doreen. You and Anthony. Anthony did bring you down here, but on the way, he fell madly in love with you. He told you about your uncle's fears, and so between the two of you, you decided to make his dreams more than real. Anthony arranged a little radio speaker in Uncle Frank's room. Yes, it was Anthony who spoke to Frank, not John's voice from the grave. Anthony merely amplified Frank's dreams, yes. You and Anthony planned to work on Frank psychologically in order to get that will and the confession. But how did Anthony know the exact words to use? The words John used when he was dying that night in the cabin? Why, because Anthony was the little boy John caught in his cabin that night. The boy who heard every word said between Frank and John. The smart little boy who saw it all.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual tale. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for The Whistler. Rated by independent research, the most popular West Coast radio program. And remember, let every traffic signal remind you, with new Signal gasoline, you do go farther than ever. Look for the familiar big yellow and black circle sign that identifies those popular Signal service stations throughout the West, from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story, The Judas Face.
The movie star lay on the hospital bed, looking up at the white ceiling through narrow slits in the efficient mask of gauze and tape which covered her face. $1 million face, the trade papers had called it, with sparkling blue eyes, a delicate nose, and passionate full lips. Yes, in every sense of the word, the face of Sandra Dane was her fortune. Then, in 10 seconds, everything had changed. There was an afternoon horseback ride with Janet Blaisdell, her stand-in, a gust of wind, Janet's silk scarf and the horse's eyes, a terrified plunge, a fall, flying hooves all around her, and blackness. Then the hospital smell. Quiet, efficient Dr. Rogers and his quiet, efficient staff. Janet and Gordon West, her producer, visiting her every afternoon. All of them kind and sympathetic. All of them knowing that the $1 million face might be gone forever. That behind the mask of bandages was a question mark.
Well, don't sit there staring at me, Gordon, darling. The end of the world hasn't come, you know.
Of course not, Sandy.
I hope not. Janet, dear, it wasn't your fault. The wind blew your scarf and...
That's what I keep telling her, Sandra. But you know how she is.
If you must feel sorry for someone, dear, how about poor Gordy? He's got $1 million tied up in the picture, and he can't shoot a lick until I get out of hock. Well, that's right, isn't it? Sandy, dear, we've been wanting to tell you...
Please, Janet.
So what's going on?
Sandy, about the picture.
What about the picture?
You know how bankers are.
Bankers?
This accident of yours, I know you'll be all right, but so far as they're concerned, well...
What are you trying to tell me, Gordy?
You've got to understand, Sandy. The bankers insisted that Gordy test someone else for the part.
Of course, I thought of Janet first.
Janet? You're playing my part?
She didn't want to do it, Sandy. Neither did I, but there just wasn't anything else we could do about it.
Janet, playing my part.
Please don't feel badly about it, Sandy.
I feel badly. I think it's marvelous. It's so funny. My stand-in. It just doesn't happen. Oh, it's a wonderful break for you, dear. Wonderful.
Well, what did I tell you, Janet? I knew she'd understand. And you don't have to worry, Sandy. No matter how this plastic surgery turns out, there'll always be a job for you at my studio. You know that.
A job? But the operation's been successful. I'm sure of it. They told me there was no question.
Of course. You've been wonderful, darling. Now we've got to run along it. Oh, hello, Dr. Rogers.
Hello, everyone. Mind if I see the patient alone for a few minutes?
You're just leaving, Doctor. Chin up, Sandy.
Goodbye, dear, and good luck. We'll be seeing you.
Certainly have nice friends.
Yes, aren't they, Doctor?
Do you mean that?
Why not?
I happen to know, Miss Dane, that you believe Janet Blaisdell was responsible for your accident. But in a fit of jealousy over your career, she purposely whipped a scarf into the eyes of your horse.
Well, how can you say a thing like that?
I didn't say it first, Miss Dane. You did.
What do you mean?
While you were under the anesthetic. That happens frequently, you know. I'm bringing this up for good reason, Miss Dane. In the event this operation doesn't come up to expectations, a thought like this playing on your mind can ruin your entire life.
I hired you as a plastic surgeon, Dr. Rogers, and not as a psychiatrist.
I'm sorry, Miss Dane. I simply felt that now, of all times, was the moment to bring it up.
Why?
I'm going to remove your bandages.
When?
Now. Steady now. You must remember that we've done the very best we could.
Please hurry, Doctor.
Just a second more. I can guarantee that the reconstruction will give you a normal appearance, but...
But what?
Whether or not you'll be able to resume your career, I don't know. Now, there you are.
A mirror. Give me a mirror.
Very well. Here.
That's not my face. It's not me.
I tried to tell you, Miss...
Get out of here. Get out.
But Miss Dane...
Get out.
Very well.
$1 million face. That's so loud. She did it. It was a plot. She blinded the horse. I'm dead. I might as well be dead. But she's not going to get away with it. I'll kill her.
With the prologue of The Judas Face, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange tale by The Whistler. If you're like me, friends, your mouth waters each time you see one of those sleek new 1946 cars. Unfortunately, it'll probably be a long time before we'll all be driving one. But there's a way we can all enjoy a sweeter running motor right now. Yep, it's with that great new Signal Premium Motor Oil containing 5 scientific compounds that actually keep motors 6 times cleaner and reduce cylinder wear 1/3. You see, those compounds start to work on your motor the moment you switch to Signal Premium. Compound number 1 actually cleanses out old carbon, varnish, and sludge that's clogging your motor, while compound 2 keeps new carbon and varnish from forming. Compound 3 improves oil circulation to vital engine parts, while compound 4 keeps oil from thinning out when your motor's hot. And compound 5, that protects costly bearings from corrosion. The result? Man, you can feel it, you can hear it, and you'll enjoy it. A sweeter running motor with Signal Premium. So why not stop by your Signal service station and make your next oil change a change for the better? You'll find oil does make a difference in the way your motor runs, a big difference, when you switch to Signal Premium Motor Oil. And now, back to the Whistler.
So the $1 million face is a thing of the past, Sandra. And Janet Blaisdell, your pretty stand-in, is going to take your place in your picture. It was too much to take, wasn't it, Sandra? Janet in your place. Earnest, eager little Janet. The same girl who stood under the hot studio lights for endless minutes while cameras were focused and mic booms adjusted. The girl who took it for you while you sat in the cool shadows and watched. Yes, Sandra, it's more than you can swallow. But you're not raging anymore. There's only cool, calm hatred now and a plan to kill. So you go about it methodically. First, of course, there's the matter of the assistant producer's job Gordon West promised you.
Oh, you've been so wonderful, Gordy. It's all set then about the job?
Sure, Sandy. You're going to be my assistant on Janet's first picture. How's that?
It's perfect. Just perfect.
Step 1, Sandra, the job. So you go to work for Gordon West. And in a week or so, you decide to tackle step 2. It seems that Janet's picture is a Western and will be shot on location. There are 2 possible sites, Hamilton Ranch or Felipe Mesa. And Gordon hasn't decided yet. Frank Reynolds, the chief cameraman, will have a lot to say about that. Gordon depends on him.
I don't know, Sandy. Last time I talked to the boss, he was all for Hamilton Ranch.
But there's no comparison, Frank. I was brought up near there. I know it like a book. Please talk to him, Frank. I know he'll listen to you.
Why?
Why what?
Well, why are you so interested?
Because it'll make the difference between a first-class Western and a cheap
You
one.
want Janet's debut to be a topper, huh?
Why, of course. Why not?
I'm a cameraman, Sandy. I've been trained to catch human emotion on film. To look for people's thoughts in their eyes and their faces.
Well?
Nothing. Matter of fact, I was on my way to the boss to make a pitch for Felipe Mesa, too. I kind of wonder if you and I have the same reason.
It has to be Felipe Mesa, doesn't it, Sandra? You weren't bragging. You know it like a book. Its steep sides, the narrow, dangerous trail winding up the cliff to the top that they'll be bound to use for the chase sequence, with Janet plunging down it at a full gallop, the wall falling away sheer on her right for 300 feet. Yes, Sandra, Felipe Mesa is perfect. It has everything you need. 2 hours later, Frank comes out of Gordon's office.
Frank,
Yeah?
what did he decide?
You win, honey. Felipe Mesa.
So you're over the first hurdle, Sandra. And for the next 2 weeks, as the company prepares to leave for location, you think it through again and again, coolly, taking your time, anticipating, preparing, concentrating on the climax that will come when Janet reins her horse at the top of the mesa, pauses a moment, and then starts down the trail.
Sandy? Janet. What's the matter, dear? Did I scare you? No, Janet, I was just thinking. I'm sorry. You look so funny smiling to yourself that way. I just dropped by to tell you we're leaving tomorrow, start shooting Monday. Isn't it wonderful? Of course, dear. I'm so thrilled for you. And I'm so thankful to you, Sandy. All the help you've given me. You've been so good about everything. Why, don't be silly, darling. We've got to make good, you know. You and I.
Yes, Sandra, you've got to make good. And everything is pointing in the right direction. You relax now and wait, smiling to yourself over Janet's enthusiasm on the trip to location during the preliminary shooting, controlling the anger inside you as Gordon West raves over her performance. It's still going to be your picture, isn't it, Sandra? Then at last the moment arrives, the day when the chase sequence is to be shot from the ream of the mesa. The weather has been blistering hot for the past week, and the company is restless as Gordon gives them last-minute instructions.
Quiet, please, quiet. Now listen, everyone. I want to shoot this chase without a break in the action. Get it all in one unbroken sequence. Get that, Frank?
Okay, Gordy. Cameras are all set.
Now, you men who are the heavies, remember, when you're chasing Janet down that trail, don't crowd her. Look as though you're laying on the leather, but don't get too close. I don't want any accidents. Janet,
Right here, Gordy.
you're sure you've got the action all straight?
Of course. I stop for a minute at the top and then take the trail down the south face.
Come here a minute.
Yes, Gordy?
This is the last chance, honey. What about the double?
No.
Why?
Well, Sandy would never have used a double. Neither will I.
She never did a trick like this. How do you know she wouldn't?
I know her pretty well. Oh, please, let's not go through it again.
Okay. By the way, where's Sandy?
Over there, sitting down. I'm afraid the heat's got her.
Oh. All right, you better get up there. What's the matter, Sandy?
Oh, I'm just a little dizzy, I guess. Afraid I'm not going to be much good to you today.
You're pretty hot at that. Maybe you'd better go back to the camp, huh?
I was hoping you'd suggest that.
Maybe I'd better send someone back there with you. Be alone, you know. Not a soul in the camp.
Oh, forget it. I'll be all right. Just lie down for a while.
Okay.
Oh, and, Gordy,
Yeah?
wish Janet a lot of luck for me. Will you?
Sure. All right, kids, let's go.
They've gone now, Sandra. Gordon's on top of the mesa to direct the action by phone. The cameraman and actors are in their places, and you're supposed to be alone in camp with a sick headache. You know the mesa, don't you, Sandra? No one sees you as you slip along the chaparral-covered slope at the foot of the mesa, up through the underbrush to the spot you found the first day of shooting, right next to the trail halfway to the top. A perfect spot, isn't it? A huge boulder on one side, greasewood and mesquite on the other. You crouch beside a strong steel stake you've driven firmly into the earth the night before. Pick up the ends of a thin wire rope looped around the mesquite root on the other side of the trail. Invisible under the dust you scattered over it. You're ready now, waiting, listening, and then... She's coming, Sandra. You tighten the rope. Hitch it firmly around the steel stake. You're ready for her now. So it was your picture after all, wasn't it, Sandra? The weeks of planning paid off. The moment the horse tripped, a flip of the cable loosened it from the mesquite root, and it's lost forever, along with a steel stake among the boulders at the bottom of the gorge. You're back in camp, lying down, of course, with your sick headache, when Gordon arrives with the news.
Dead. Dead. Oh, no, Gordy, no.
Take it easy, Sandy.
Oh, you're wrong, Gordy. She can't be dead. She's just a kid. Not Janet, no.
Yes, Sandra, that was an Academy Award performance. Even though you don't have the face to go with it anymore. It's all settled now. There was no question. Just a few formalities and an official statement by the coroner that Janet Blaisdell died as the result of an accidental fall from a horse. The weeks pass and you go back to your job at Gordon's side in Hollywood. Yes, it's settled. You did a perfect job. There's no evidence. And yet there's still a vague, uneasy feeling inside you, as if something was hanging over your head, ready to fall. Somehow you can't put your finger on it. At least until the day Frank Reynolds, the cameraman, takes you to lunch.
You know, Sandy, I think I told you once about the peculiar insight a guy gets after grinding a camera for 10 years.
What do you mean, Frank?
Well, it's funny. You can almost tell what a person's thinking. Just the way he holds his face. You know, I can spot hatred a mile away, for instance. Jealousy. The cold look of
Of what, Frank?
a murderer. Funny, isn't it?
It's interesting.
They can't hide it, you know. It's there in spite of them. It's odd. I thought I saw it in your face out on location that day. The day Janet died.
Yes, that is odd. It indicates that you're not infallible anyway.
It's, not there now, though.
Of course it isn't. Now, suppose...
Just a minute, Sandy. It isn't there now. There's something else.
What?
Fear. I want you to come over to my house tonight, Sandy.
No, I'm sorry, Frank.
I won't take no for an answer, Sandy. Be there at 8. There's something I want you to see.
You make an excuse. Tell them you're ill. Leave the office that afternoon. He's bluffing you, Sandra. You tell yourself again and again that Frank Reynolds is bluffing you. That there's no reason in the world for you to go to his house at 8 tonight. And 1,000 good reasons why you shouldn't. There's no proof, no evidence. Why should you fall for it? Of course not. So at 7 o'clock, you decide definitely you're not going. And at 8 o'clock sharp, you're ringing his doorbell.
Hello, Sandy.
Hello, Frank.
Well, you coming in?
I can only stay for a minute.
I won't be long. I began to think you weren't coming.
I came here for only one reason, Frank. To get to the bottom of that double talk at lunch today.
That's exactly why we're going downstairs. I've got a movie projector there. You know, rally the folks around for a private showing once in a while. Now sit right down over there, Sandy. Screen's all set up.
Please, Frank, let's stop this nonsense. I told you I can only stay a few minutes. What's that revolver doing on your desk?
Revolver? Oh, that. I was cleaning it before dinner. Nice thing to have around. No telling what dangerous characters a man might meet in my business. But you're not a dangerous character, are you, Sandy? So I'll put it away for now. Let's look at the pictures, huh? I'm sure you're going to find them interesting, Sandra. You see, I took them myself the day of the chase sequence at Felipe Mesa.
Oh, the chase sequence.
That's right. The chase sequence. You remember that day, of course. The day Janet was murdered. The day Janet died. I'll turn out the lights here. Now start up the projector. There we are. I don't think you knew I was on a roving assignment that day, Sandra. I was using a portable camera with a telephoto lens. Managed to get some very unusual shots. Oh, here's a hand start of the chase.
Your
Take a look
brain
at the
is
mesa
spinning
there.
like that projection
There's a
machine.
swell shot of Janet.
You know what's coming next, don't you, Sandra? Frank is gloating now over his telephoto lens. The one thing you forgot to figure on. Slowly you ease out of your chair in the dark toward the desk, pull the drawer open, grope for the revolver, find it. Move quietly back to your chair, hiding the gun under your purse on your lap.
Of course, Sandy. Every climax has to have a build-up. Telephoto lens is a wonderful thing, isn't it, Sandy? You'd swear you were 10 feet from her. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Here comes Janet down the steep pitch. Oh, look ahead of her. In that narrow gap on her left, and the greasewood there. Surprise, huh? That woman there, crouching next to the trail. Look what she has in her hand. A rope, isn't it? Now, here's a cutback to Janet galloping down the trail. She's almost opposite the woman now. Look. Look at the girl with the rope. Who does she look like, Sandy, huh? Who is it?
Stop it! Stop that machine!
Okay.
Turn on the lights, Frank. Hurry up.
Right. There. That better?
All right, Frank. How much do you want for that film?
Why, Sandy. What are you...
I said how much, Frank?
Well, I didn't know you admired my camera work so much, Sandy.
Will you come to the point?
Well, of course, you've got to admit this is pretty unusual stuff. It comes high.
How much?
Well, I figure you've probably stashed away a couple of $100,000 in your time. Successful star, you know. $40,000 a picture.
$200,000.
Yeah. Suppose we say half of it, and you get the negatives.
What made you do this, Frank?
Well, I always was a guy for a fast buck. And there was something else, of course. Janet and I were going to be married when the picture was finished. Let's face it, Sandy, $100,000 is cheap.
Yes, I guess you're right. I can't afford to take a chance. There's only one way to make sure.
Hey, what are you doing?
Stay just right there, Frank. Right where you're standing.
Put down that gun, Sandy. You can't get away with murder again.
No.
Listen, Sandy. I'll destroy the film.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with the strange ending of tonight's story. Meantime, I have good news tonight for you Whistler fans who've been asking, will the Whistler follow the example of so many of the popular shows and go off the air for the summer? The answer, I'm happy to say, is no. In appreciation of your loyalty that has made the Whistler the West Coast's most popular radio show, Signal Oil Company and the thousands of friendly dealer-owned signal stations throughout the West who sponsor the Whistler will continue to broadcast this program without interruption throughout the summer. So, for your Monday night radio entertainment, we of the cast hope you'll continue to make the Whistler a regular stop on your dial. And during the week, we also hope you'll stop by your Signal dealers and get acquainted with that great new Signal Premium Motor Oil, the new type lubricant containing 5 scientific compounds that actually keep motors 6 times cleaner, reduce cylinder wear 1/3. It's today's finest recipe for a sweeter running motor, Signal Premium Motor Oil. And now, back to the Whistler.
It was the only way out, wasn't it, Sandra? It was all there on the film, everything. Absolute ironclad proof. And you were smart enough to realize you could never end it by paying him off. The black, blinding hatred for him closed in as you gripped the gun tight and pulled the trigger once, then twice more, and then...
Sandy, you poor, stupid little...
Frank! I shot you, Frank. Why don't you...
They're all gone now, honey. You better let me have the gun.
Get away from me, Frank!
Give me that gun. That's it. You're a cold-blooded killer, aren't you, Sandy? But you're at the end of your rope now.
What is it? I don't understand.
The gun was loaded with blanks, darling. All right, gentlemen, you can come in now. Looks like the scene's over.
All right, Frank. Come on, Dr. Rogers. Officer?
Gordon, what are you...
The required number of witnesses, Sandy. Are you satisfied, officer?
I don't think there'll be any question. I might as well tell you, Sandy. We faked that film.
What? You mean there was no...
There was nothing, except a healthy suspicion on the part of Dr. Rogers that you murdered Janet Blaisdell. Seems you talked rather freely while you were under the anesthetic some time ago. He insisted we examine a point on the Mesa Trail where Janet fell. All we could find was a hole on the left-hand side of the trail, as if a stake had been driven there. So we made a long guess and shot the scene with a stock actress made up to look like you, just to see what you'd have to say. Isn't that right, Doctor?
Yes, of course, there was nothing to go on, except what you said under anesthesia while I was working on your face.
Interesting, isn't it, Sandra? The one thing in the world you treasured most. The thing you killed for gave you away. Your $1 million face.
Next Monday at 9 o'clock, The Whistler will bring you another strange tale. The Whistler is broadcast for your entertainment by the marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories, and by your neighborhood Signal dealer. Featured in tonight's cast were Mary Lansing and Gerald Moore. This program, produced by George W. Allen, based on a story by B. Marsh, music by Wilbur Hatch, is transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. This is Marvin Miller speaking, reminding you to look for those familiar yellow and black circle signs that identify those popular Signal Oil stations in 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Wait a minute. Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
John was here in this room. I saw him and talked to him. He had a message for me. And while he was here, the room was filled with the odor of musty roses.
Another Sunday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the unusual story of apparition. In the midst of a circle of tall, moaning pines spreads an old mansion. On the second floor, a low light burns in a large bedroom, the bedroom of Elizabeth Kemper, the elderly mistress of the mansion.
Mrs. Kemper's husband, John, died suddenly a year ago and left his entire estate to his wife, Elizabeth. Shortly after John's death, Elizabeth brought her husband's sister, Bertha, and Bertha's daughter, Celia, to live with her. Since John's death, Elizabeth's health has gradually failed and she has taken to her bed. In the meantime, Elizabeth's only sister, Mary, has come to live in the great house, and Mary's son, Herbert. Now, long past midnight, Elizabeth tosses in her bed and mumbles.
John. What is it? What do you want? Why don't you say it?
Suddenly, Elizabeth's door bursts open, and Bertha moves into the room and stands beside the bed.
Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
Huh?
Elizabeth? It's Bertha.
Oh, Bertha. Oh, yes, Bertha.
Why did you scream?
Scream? Did I scream?
Yes. Just as I came in the room.
You must have frightened me.
Were you dreaming?
No, I don't think so. But I don't know. I thought John was here.
John? You thought John was here?
Yes. Standing there beside the bed.
Elizabeth, I saw him, too. Just a moment ago.
What?
In my room.
Oh, but that's nonsense. Why should he always appear to you?
I'm his sister.
Yes. Yes, of course.
John was trying to tell me something. Something about you.
What?
He was trying to tell me that you should listen to him.
Listen to him?
Something about the property.
What about the property?
He says he made a mistake.
Mistake?
He says he wasn't killed accidentally. He did it deliberately. He committed suicide.
Suicide? Why should he have done that?
He hasn't explained that. But he says now he knows the truth about everything. He knows that his reason for hating me and cutting me off in his will was unfounded, and he's sorry. He's been trying to reach you, but you aren't receptive.
You claim you've seen John every night since the day he died.
I have, Elizabeth. I swear I have.
I've seen him many times in my dreams. But why doesn't he tell me what he wants?
Some night, Elizabeth, John will reach you in your waking moments. Then you'll believe me.
I can't understand it. He didn't like you, and he told me so. Why should he change now?
Perhaps it would be best if Celia and I left you.
Why should you want to leave all of a sudden?
You have your own sister and her son, Herbert. You won't be alone.
If I only knew what John was trying to say to me.
I've told you what he's been saying to me.
Mother, is anything wrong?
We heard someone scream. At least I thought I did.
No, nothing's wrong. Go back to bed.
Elizabeth, what is it?
What's what, Mary?
Oh, dear me, I heard someone scream. What was it? Oh, you're all right, Elizabeth.
Yes, Mary, I had a nightmare, that's all.
Oh, well, I was worried.
Better go back to bed, all of you. I'll be all right.
Yes, come along, everybody.
I'll see you in the morning.
Good night.
But, Mother, why do you keep frightening Aunt Elizabeth by telling her about Uncle John?
I'm not frightening her. She should know the truth.
But she is frightened. Why, she's getting worse and worse. Are you sure you have seen Uncle, really?
Do you dare suggest that I'm lying? Is that what you mean, Celia?
No, Mother. I didn't mean that honest.
It's better. And don't you ever say such a thing again.
But why doesn't he appear to Aunt Elizabeth? She only dreams about him.
That's something that can't be answered. There are those who are gifted with the powers to see those who have departed. See them and talk with them. I'm one of those so gifted. Do you understand?
Yes, Mother.
John is trying to get a message to Elizabeth about me. And because he finds it difficult to reach her, he's chosen me as the medium.
What is the message?
He left me nothing in his will because he hated me and thought I hated him.
But you did.
I did not. It was his imagination. But now he's learned the truth. Now he knows I had nothing but his best interests at heart. He's trying to tell Elizabeth to leave all the estate to me. And he will continue to return to this house until his mission is accomplished. Then his soul can rest in peace.
I'm frightened, Mother. I don't want to stay here another day. I can't stand it here.
You stay here until I'm ready to leave. Do you hear me?
Yes, Mother. I hear.
Now stop this nonsense and go to bed.
Yes, Mother. I'm sorry.
You'd better be.
In another part of the great house, Herbert is talking with his mother, Mary, Elizabeth's own sister.
Now, Mother, get hold of yourself.
Oh, I'm terribly frightened, Herbert.
Why should you be frightened? Nothing can harm you. What have you to be afraid of?
Oh, there's something awful in this house. I can feel it. I don't want to stay here any longer. We must leave before it's too late.
I'll admit that strange things are going on, but I'm not ready to leave here. Not just yet.
We don't belong here, Herbert.
Elizabeth is your own sister.
I don't think John wants us
Do you
here.
really believe that John's spirit is walking around this place every night?
Well, what else?
Then why doesn't he say what he's trying to say and get it over
Well,
with?
I can't stay here much longer. I'll lose my mind.
I can imagine John's not wanting Bertha here, since he stipulated in his will that Aunt Elizabeth must never give Bertha $1 of the estate. But what's he got against you? Nothing.
Oh.
He didn't say that Elizabeth couldn't leave you a part of it.
Well, all I want to do is to get out of this house.
Well, I don't feel that way about it. Why should you walk out and leave everything to Bertha?
Well, that's why John's staying around here. He doesn't want anyone here.
Well, ghost or no ghost, I'm not walking out at a time like this.
Then I will. I'm leaving here tomorrow.
Oh, no. No, you're not leaving. We're both staying until Aunt Elizabeth makes her will. You're staying here whether you like it or not. You hear?
Yes, Herbert. But nothing good will come of it. I'm convinced of that.
No? Well, we'll see about that. Good night, Mother.
An hour later, Mary has finally dropped off to sleep. Then, as the clock strikes 3, a figure in white slips into Mary's room and stands beside the bed. Slowly, Mary opens her eyes and stifles a scream.
Who is it? What do you want?
I want to talk to you, Mary.
Bertha.
I have a message for you.
A message?
Yes. John is here, standing beside me.
I don't see anyone.
He is here.
What is the message?
John says that Elizabeth is planning to leave the estate to you. But he's learned the truth. He knows that his dislike for me was unfounded. He wants the estate left to me because it's rightfully mine. And he'll never be able to rest in peace until that is accomplished.
Oh, I don't want it. I don't want any part of the
Then
estate.
if you want to escape this torment, you must convince your sister that John made a mistake. If you accept any part of it, John will never let you rest. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Very well, we'll leave you now. Good night.
Elizabeth, wake up.
Oh, what?
Wake up.
Oh, Mary, what's wrong? You're shaking like a leaf.
He was in my room.
Who?
John, he was in my room.
Mary, what are you saying?
He had a message. He said you were planning to leave the estate to me, according to his will. But he made a mistake about Bertha. He wants you to leave it to her, so he can rest in peace.
Mary, are you out of your mind?
No, you must believe me. I don't want any part of the estate. Oh, please promise me. Leave it to Bertha and have done with it. I refuse to accept it.
Get control of yourself, Mary.
I'm leaving here in the morning. I'm frightened. And if you had any sense, you'd leave too. If you stay here, you'll go mad.
Very well, Mary. If that's what you call gratitude, you can go.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but I won't remain another night.
Are you sure you saw John?
Well, no. No, but he was there in my room.
Did you talk with him?
No, that is
Then how do you know he was there?
Well, Bertha told me he was there.
Bertha? Was she there, too?
Oh, yes. She told me what he wanted. He said he couldn't reach you.
Oh, why should John appear to everyone but me?
Oh, I don't know. But I know he was there. I could sense it. I tell you, there was someone in the room with Bertha. It must have been John. Oh, let Bertha have the estate or something terrible will happen to all of us. Oh, please, Elizabeth.
Go to bed, Mary. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Next day, Herbert goes into town and pays a visit to Henry Wentworth, Elizabeth's attorney. Wentworth was also John's attorney for many years and was familiar with the family for 2 decades.
Mr. Wentworth, you drew John Kemper's will.
Yes, I did.
Have you any idea why he cut his sister Bertha off without $1?
No, but in the last 5 years, John turned against Bertha. Turned against her violently.
Why?
I don't really know. She was his only sister, and he had no brothers. It was very strange.
What happened to Bertha's husband?
Well, he died about 5 years ago. Committed suicide. He worked for John at one time. Then John set him up in a business of his own. Thought he went to the wall in the crash at 29, lost every penny. Just couldn't take it, so he killed himself.
He left nothing?
Nothing but an insurance policy to his wife, Bertha. Didn't amount to much, $5,000, I think.
Were John and Bertha's husband on good terms?
Apparently the best of friends.
How did Bertha's husband die?
Took poison. Overdose of sleeping tablets.
Oh, I see.
But from the day Bertha's husband died, John, her brother, seemed to turn against Bertha and shortly changed his will, cutting Bertha off. I was the only one who knew about it until the will was read.
Have you any idea why he changed the will?
No, none whatever. It was none of my business.
Yes. Well, thank you, Mr. Wentworth. I appreciate your telling me this. Good day.
Then Herbert pays another visit, a visit to Dr. Martin, formerly John Kemper's physician. Dr. Martin is at first reluctant to talk, but finally answers a few questions.
Doctor, you were John Kemper's physician for many years?
Yes, that's right.
Uh-huh. Was there anything wrong with him?
You mean, was he unbalanced?
No. Did he have any severe ailments?
Well, no. No, the last year or so he seemed to change considerably, though. Became a bit morose.
Anything wrong with his heart?
Well, yes and no.
Yes and no?
Well, he began to suffer from severe headaches. Took to using a lot of aspirin. Of course, too much of anything's bad.
He was killed in a car wreck.
Yes, he'd been to the city and was driving back home late at night. Drove off into the ditch.
Did you attend him?
I saw the body shortly after the wreck. He'd been dead about an hour, badly smashed up.
Was it his heart?
Oh, could have been, but I think he went to sleep at the wheel.
Was there an autopsy?
No, it was obvious how he died. His skull had been crushed in.
Mm-hmm. Who had he visited in the city on business?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought about it.
Where is John Kemper buried?
In the family vault at the edge of his own estate. Didn't you know that?
Huh? Oh, yes. Yes. I'd forgotten. Well, good day, Doctor. And thanks for the information.
Then later that night, the household prepares to settle down to sleep. One by one, the lights go out in the various rooms. Now only that in Elizabeth's room remains.
Will there be anything else, ma'am?
No, Higgins. That'll be all. Has everyone gone to bed?
Oh, yes, ma'am. They've all retired. Is the milk warm enough?
Yes. Good night, Higgins.
Good night, ma'am. I hope you rest well tonight.
Thank you, Higgins.
The moon bathes the estate in its eerie glow. The big clock strikes off the hour. Then, in the distance, there is the howl of a dog. A mournful howl of impending doom. John's dog crying in its loneliness. Across the lawn from the family vault walks a haggard figure in the moonlight. A figure with long white hair walking toward the house. Then a few moments later, the weird figure appears in Mary's room, stands in the shadows, and points at Mary.
What do you want? Who are you?
I am John.
John? Oh, good heavens.
I've come back to talk to you. You must hear me.
I hear you.
I made a great mistake in life. I hated my sister, but I know all things now. Bertha's a good woman. I'm doomed to walk this place without rest until I've made amends. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, I understand.
If Elizabeth refuses to listen to my pleas and leaves this estate to you, you will never rest a moment under this roof. For I can never leave. It rightfully belongs to Bertha, and to her it must go.
Oh, I don't want it. I don't want any part of it. I won't stay here. I promise. Just let me alone.
I will. If you and your son leave here at once.
We will. We will. Oh, where are you? John? Are you here? John?
Mary gasps and suddenly falls back on her pillow. Poor Mary has fainted, dead away. From the darkened stairway, the great clock chimes out the hour. 3 o'clock. Elizabeth, eyes closed but still awake, senses a presence and slowly opens her eyes. Standing close beside her is the white-haired figure, its face hidden in the shadows.
No, Elizabeth. Don't turn on the light.
Who is it?
You wouldn't want to see me. I've been out there too long.
John! John!
At last I've reached through to you.
Oh, I must be dreaming again.
Not this time.
Why are you whispering, John?
I'm not whispering, Elizabeth. Can't you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What is that odor?
Odor?
Yes, a strange odor. Like the smell of flowers. A musty odor of roses.
Why, I've just come from the vault,
John!
Elizabeth.
John, what is it? What do you want?
You're going to make your will tomorrow.
Yes.
Only you can right the wrong I've done.
Wrong?
My father left this estate to me with the understanding that I should leave it to Bertha.
Yes, I know.
I suspected her of wrongdoing and cut her off, and instructed you to do so.
Yes.
But now I know that I was wrong. You must leave the estate to her. You must right my wrongs so that I can go on to my rest.
Yes, John.
If you fail to do this, I shall be doomed to walk this place throughout eternity. And all those who come here shall not know a moment's peace.
Yes, I understand, John.
If you fail me, you too shall suffer my torment with me forever.
Yes, I'll do it. I'll do as you say, only... John...
Your heart, Elizabeth?
Yes,
You haven't much time, Elizabeth. You'll be joining me soon. I know.
John, where are you? I promise, John. I promise.
Elizabeth clutches at her heart, gasping for breath. A few moments pass, and she revives sufficiently to reach for the stimulant on the nightstand. She pours a dose, and as she swallows it, she glances out the window over the moonlit grounds. Across the lawn moves the white-haired figure, gliding toward the family vault at the edge of the estate.
John!
Elizabeth drops the glass and falls to the floor. A few seconds later, Bertha hurries into the room.
Elizabeth. Mary. Herbert.
What happened, Mother?
Hurry.
Good heavens.
Is she all right?
Elizabeth? Oh. She's dead.
Who screamed?
Must have been Elizabeth. Had another attack.
Why, she's still breathing.
Put her on the bed.
Well, there's her medicine. I'll get another glass.
You stay here, Mary. I'll get the glass from the bathroom.
What do you suppose happened to her? Maybe it was,
Was what?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you, Mother? You're white as a sheet.
Oh, am I?
What are you trying to say?
Well, I saw it, too.
Saw what? What did you see?
Well, I saw him. John. He was in my room a while ago. I talked to him.
You talked to him?
Yes, and he talked to me. I heard him and I saw him.
What did he say? Stop whimpering and tell us.
He said...
Mother, stop it.
Oh, I won't stay. I won't.
Come back here. Grab her, Celia.
Elizabeth's coming, too.
Aunt Elizabeth.
Oh, Herbert,
You're all right now. Just take it easy.
Yes, I'm all right. What's wrong with Mary?
She says she saw John and talked to him.
What?
I think she's imagining things.
No. She isn't imagining things. I know. I saw him, too. He was here. He talked to me.
Oh, now, look, Aunt Elizabeth. The whole thing is...
No. He was here. It was no dream. I saw him walk through the garden toward the vault.
When?
It can't be very long ago. There was a strange, sickly odor in the room all the while he was here. It smelled like musty roses.
Oh, be quiet, Mother.
Now maybe you believe what I've been telling you.
What did he say?
It was about his will and my will. And he talked about Bertha.
About me?
Yes. He said he was wrong about you. Wants to make things right through me. He knew I intended to make my will tomorrow. And he told me just what to do.
Yes, that's what he said to me, too.
You?
Yes.
Why, this is the strangest thing I've ever encountered. Why should he talk to you?
Well, he did, I tell you. And Elizabeth must do what he wants. Otherwise, something will happen.
What will happen?
Well, I don't know.
I want you to call Mr. Wentworth, the lawyer, and have him here first thing in the morning. I want to draw my will, as John tells me.
Very well. I think I'll have a look around the grounds. Never go back to sleep now, anyway. So, good night, Aunt Elizabeth.
Herbert wanders about the grounds for a while and finally goes to Higgins, the butler, and after some persuasion obtains the keys to the family vault. The next morning, the lawyer, Wentworth, visits Elizabeth in her room.
Well, how are you this morning, Elizabeth?
Much better, Mr. Wentworth.
Here you had a bad night.
Yes, I guess I had another attack.
Oh, so?
Mr. Wentworth, I want to draw up my will. I should have done it long ago, but, well, something held me back.
I see. Well, I'll take down the data and have it typed, then bring it back for you to sign. I'll be in court all day, probably through the evening, so I'll have to come around 11 tonight.
Very well, as soon as possible.
Good. Now, let's have the particulars.
Yes. To my sister, Mary Wilton, I leave the 5-room cottage in Danbury.
Hmm?
To my nephew, Herbert Wilton, I leave $1,000 in cash.
Yes.
And to my husband's sister, Bertha Mallory, I leave all other property, personal and real, amounting to some $400,000.
What?
Please. Amounting to some $400,000, according to my late husband's wishes.
What do you mean? John stipulated that you leave not a penny to Bertha.
John has changed his mind.
When did he change his mind?
Since his death.
Don't you think we'd better postpone this until you feel better?
I want my will drawn just as I have told you.
But what do you mean by saying John has changed his mind? How could he?
He told me so last night.
You know what you're saying.
Yes. I saw John. I talked to him. He was wrong in his attitude toward Bertha.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
I want it done as I say.
Very well. I'll draw it up this way. But I certainly think that...
You think I'm insane?
Well, since you bring it up, yes, I do.
So did I, at first. But I'm not. I'll be expecting you around 11 tonight, Mr. Wentworth.
Yes. Yes, of course. I'll be here.
Now it is shortly after 11 the same night. The lawyer has returned with the will, and Elizabeth has called her 3 relatives to her room.
Very well, Mr. Wentworth. This is drawn the way I want it.
You mean as John wants it?
I mean just that. I'm leaving the property that was mine before I married John, the small cottage, to you, Mary, and $1,000 to Herbert. All else I am leaving according to John's directions to you, Bertha. That's the way John wants it. And that's the way it shall be.
You must do as you think best.
I'm doing as John wishes. Hand me the pen, Wentworth. There you are. And I hope you all understand.
I don't.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Well, now that you've got it, Bertha, what good is it going to do you?
What do you mean?
How much chance do you think you'll have to use it? What happiness do you think it'll bring you?
More than it would you. Isn't it rightfully mine?
Is it?
That's the way John wanted it.
Oh, no, it isn't. It's the way you want it.
I had nothing to do with
John made a will. He's never wanted to change.
Elizabeth knows better than that.
Aunt Elizabeth knows nothing of the kind.
This is my house now, and the sooner you leave, the better.
You'll be living sooner than I will, you and your spooks. You don't believe in ghosts, and you never saw one.
I saw John. Night after night. Everyone saw him.
Everyone but me, because I'm not a donkey.
Your own Mother Mary saw him and talked to him.
Hush, John is dead in his coffin out there in the vault. I saw him.
But I did see him. So did I.
You wouldn't know if you did see him.
We would. We've seen him.
Yeah. Then turn around. Turn around, all of you. And look.
John. Good Lord.
It's him.
Is that John? Is it?
Yes, yes.
Take off your wig.
Higgins.
Yes, the butler. There's your spook.
Why, I'm sorry, ma'am.
You can go, Higgins. I'll explain everything.
Yes.
Bertha hired Higgins to impersonate John.
That's a lie.
Higgins would never have done it if he'd known about the murders. I trapped him into it. He confessed everything.
Murders?
What do you mean?
I got wise to the whole thing. I investigated the whole story about Bertha's husband and John's accidental death. They were both murdered.
You're lying.
I had the bodies exhumed and examined. They both died of an overdose of sleeping tablets. The very same purchased by Bertha at a certain drugstore.
He's crazy. He's crazy. I tell you, don't
She put
listen.
the tablets in her husband's aspirin bottle. She was the one John visited. That night he had the wreck. She must have drugged him. That's why he went to sleep at the wheel.
I didn't.
She killed her husband for his insurance. And John cut her off in his will because he suspected that she killed her husband.
It's a lie, I tell you.
John never wanted his will changed. I have proof of the whole thing, and the police are waiting outside now. You haven't a chance, Bertha. You're guilty.
The police?
Oh.
What
No,
good
no.
will all this do you? Where is your fortune now? They'll hang you.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did. I did it. I don't know why, but I did it. I gave him the tablet.
Did Higgins know that?
No. No, he didn't know. Oh.
Bertha, she's fainted.
Mother. Oh.
No, she hasn't fainted.
Well, what's wrong with her?
She's dead.
Oh. Mother. Mother.
Hand me that will, Mr. Wentworth. I want to draw up a new one in the morning.
Well, there you are. That's the story. John never wanted his will changed, and for good reason. He really knew the truth. But wait a minute. How did you figure this one out, Herbert? You didn't really have those bodies exhumed, did you?
I didn't have them exhumed. And if I had, there would have been no traces of sleeping tablets left. And there were no police waiting outside. I was bluffing, working on pure hypotheses. But it did work.
Yes, it worked, Herbert. And it afforded me a very nice story indeed. Thank you, Herbert.
You're welcome.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another weird tale. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Have you heard The Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
I must kill Henry. I must kill Henry.
That was Ambrose Brent, official of an airplane plant. He found strange notes in the night.
You better get away, Ambrose. Take a good long rest. The sooner the better.
That was Henry Pierce, Ambrose's partner. He was growing fearful of Ambrose.
Get this prescription filled, Ambrose. It'll make you sleep. And you'd better get away.
And that was Ambrose's friend, Dr. Fenwick. And this is Ambrose's wife, Doris.
What's happened, Ambrose? Look at me. What have you done?
Another Saturday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
And I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who've stepped into the shadows. I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak. And so I tell you tonight the strange story of Notes in the Night. A storm rages wildly over the countryside. Beyond that long row of trees stands a lonely house half hidden in the darkness of the night. Not a single light appears from any of its many windows. But up there in that room with the large window, a man stirs fretfully in his sleep. The man is Ambrose Brent, an official of an airplane plant.
But it's not the storm that stirs his uneasy slumber. It's something else, something far more sinister, something that has happened many times in the past few weeks. Now he stirs again, moans loudly, and suddenly sits bolt upright in his huge bed.
Who's there? Who's there, I say? It's funny. I sworn I heard something. I swear I felt someone in the room.
Turn on the lamp, Ambrose. You'll see.
I can't imagine what's happening to me. It's just nerves, I guess. It's just... Good Lord. Another note. Another one. I must kill Henry. I must kill Henry. That's the third note this week in my own handwriting. I've got to do something. I've got to tell someone. Henry's my best friend. Oh, it's nerves. I know. I'll call Dr. Fenwick. Doc will know what's wrong. Fairchild 1834W. Yes.
Hello?
Is Dr. Fenwick in?
No, Dr. Fenwick isn't in. He can be reached at Walnut 2380.
Walnut 2380. That's Henry Pierce's number. I can't go there. If there's anything to this, I must stay away from Henry. I've got to see Doc Fenwick. Wait till morning.
Well, hello, Ambrose. Sit down. What's wrong?
Doc, I've got to talk with you.
Oh, of course, Ambrose. Why not? What's up?
Something's wrong with me. Terribly wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Read this note.
No? I must kill Henry. Henry? I must kill Henry? I don't get it. What has this to do with your trouble?
I wrote it.
You did? Well, really? And why did you write it?
I don't know. I don't remember writing it, but I know it's in my own writing. And that's it.
Who's Henry?
Henry Pierce. Who else?
Have you been drinking, Ambrose?
Not a drop, I swear.
Well, look, old boy, you'd best sit down. Ah, that's better. Now, when did you write this?
I don't know. I found 6 notes just like that.
6? Where?
On the nightstand beside my bed.
Are you sure it's your writing?
Well, doesn't it look like it?
Yeah, certainly does. Tell me, how many hours have you been putting in at the plant lately?
Oh, too many.
I'd better give you a thorough going over, Ambrose.
But why should I write such notes?
I don't know. Mind plays queer tricks on us sometimes under undue strain. You better slow down. That's my best prescription. Take it easy. Get out of town as soon as possible.
Yes. Yes, I guess you're right.
Here, I'll give you something for your nerves.
Thanks. Doctor, you don't think I'm losing my mind, do you?
No, Ambrose. You're just terribly upset, that's all. Here. Here's your prescription. You better get it filled tonight.
Thanks. I'll leave Saturday. You don't think there's anything wrong with me? Mentally, I mean.
If you're in town after Saturday night, I'll drag you out with my own 2 hands.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Ambrose. Sleep tight. And don't think about anything.
Ambrose, why don't you take a little vacation?
What do you mean, Henry? Have you been talking to Doc Fenwick?
Fenwick?
Of course you have. He told you all about it.
About what?
I feel better than I've felt in years. I'm in excellent condition. Do you hear?
Certainly I hear. What's wrong with you, Ambrose?
Nothing.
If you act like this, I'll be forced to agree with Doc Fenwick.
What has he said?
He just said you were overworked.
Well, he doesn't know everything.
Ambrose, you'll please me very much if you'll take a little vacation.
Did Doc Fenwick tell you what was bothering me?
Yes, he did, Ambrose, and I think you'd better get away as soon as possible. Oh, I'm sorry, Ambrose, but don't worry. Everything will be all right.
Then you're not worried? You're not upset about it?
Certainly not. Why should I be?
Please believe me, Henry, I wouldn't do such a thing. I've never even thought of such a thing. I'd kill myself first. You do believe me, don't you?
Huh? Why, of course I do, of course.
I wouldn't kill you. I have no reason.
Shall I drive you home, Ambrose?
No, I'll get home. I'd better leave tomorrow, hadn't I? I'll go up to my place in the mountains. There's no one there. My wife has gone to Palm Beach.
Yes, Ambrose. You better leave tomorrow.
Yes. Doris will be back from Palm Beach in 3 weeks.
That'll be long enough. I'm sure you'll find things different when you return. Quite different.
Good night, Henry.
Goodbye, Ambrose. Sleep tight and don't think about anything.
Ambrose goes home and to bed. The clock ticks off the eerie hours. The clock chimes 2. And suddenly Ambrose stirs fretfully in his slumber. He wakes and again sits up staring into the inky blackness of his silent room. Turn on the light, Ambrose. Turn on the light.
Who is it? Who's there? Good Lord. Another one. I must kill Henry. Jameson! Jameson! I've got to get hold of myself. This is ridiculous. Jameson! I'm losing my mind. I must be.
Did you call me, sir?
Yes. Yes, I called you.
I thought I heard a scream.
A scream? No, What time is it?
It's long after midnight, sir. It's 2:00.
2:00? Oh, pack my bag. Order my plane to be ready in 30 minutes.
Where are you going, sir?
It doesn't matter.
Yes, sir.
I've got to get away. I've got to. 2:15. I must get away. I must. I'm mad. I must be. Jameson! Jameson!
The car is at the door, sir.
Then come on with the bag.
Where are you going, sir?
I don't know where I'm going, Jameson. Understand?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Good night, Jameson.
Goodbye, sir.
Yes? Yes? Who is it? What do you want? Come in. Ambrose, is that you? What on earth are you doing here at 2:30 in the morning? What's wrong? I say, what's wrong with you?
I must kill Henry.
Ambrose, put up that gun. No, don't, Ambrose. Don't.
I must kill Henry.
Don't, you're mad. Don't come near me. Don't. Ambrose.
Operator, I want Dr. Fenwick in New York. Fairchild, 1834W. Please. It's Dr. Fenwick's residence. Make it person to person. This is Crust Line 142. I've got to talk to someone. I've got to. I can't stand this silence, this being alone. Hello? Oh. I see. No, never mind. I'll call tomorrow.
Put up your hands. Don't move.
Doris!
Ambrose!
What on earth? What are you doing here?
Why, what are you doing here?
I thought you were in Palm Beach. What are you doing up here in the mountains?
I changed my mind. I decided to come up here.
Why didn't you let me know?
I didn't think about it. I was going to phone you in the morning. Well, how did you find time to get away from the plant? I thought you were too busy to eat.
Well, I decided I needed to rest, so I...
It's an early hour to arrive. 5 a.m.
Is it? Well, you see, it occurred to me on the spur of the moment. I flew up. Well, what are you staring at?
I'm not staring, Ambrose. What's wrong? What's happened?
Nothing. I came up here because...
Because what? What are you talking about, Ambrose? Are you ill?
Yes. Yes, that's it. I'm ill, very ill. Yes. Get the doctor.
What doctor? There's no doctor near here.
Get Dr. Fenwick. He knows.
Dr. Fenwick?
He's the only one who knows. Except Henry.
Are you out of your mind?
No, I'm not. Do you hear? It's a lie. I'm not crazy. I won't be crazy. Oh, Doris, what's happened to me? What's happened? Oh, poor Henry.
Ambrose, look at me. What have you done? What have you done?
Let me alone. I'm going to bed. I want to get some sleep.
I've done nothing.
What's that? Wake up, Doris.
What?
That noise.
I didn't hear it.
I did. Hear it? There it is again. There's someone coming there. They are at the door.
There's no one.
You see? I'm not here. I haven't been here. You don't know where I am. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Doc, it's you.
Oh. Hello, Doris.
Hello, Doctor.
Did you get my call? You did, didn't you?
Now, Ambrose, take it easy. Everything's going to be all right. Don't get excited.
All right. What do you mean?
You've got a 50-1 chance to pull out of it.
Pull out?
Certainly. I know you're mentally upset. You have been for weeks. I'll swear to that. I have records. I'll appear on your side. You'll get out of it.
Out of it? Out of what?
You're not a killer.
Killer?
What did you say? What did you say?
I said you weren't a killer. I understand your case perfectly.
Henry is dead?
Yes. I'm sorry to say Henry is dead. He died about 2:30 in the morning, as closely as can be determined. From all indications, the police think he committed suicide.
But he didn't. You know he didn't.
He may have.
Then why did you come here?
I thought this is where you'd come, and I was right.
What does this mean, Doctor?
It means that if Henry's dead, I killed him. I must have.
Must have? Are you positive?
Yes, who else could it be? I've written notes to myself for weeks. This Doc knows. He knows all about it.
Do you?
Yes, but I didn't think it would come to this.
But why did you do such a thing? He was your best friend.
I know it. But if he's dead, I must have done it.
But why did you do it?
I don't know.
Now, please, don't get upset. He wasn't responsible.
I am responsible. I did it. And I'm going back.
No, Ambrose. Stay here till I send for you. I'll have a talk with you.
No. I'm going back this morning.
I can't believe such a thing.
Doris, why do you look at me like that? Please. I don't know why I did it. Oh, Doris, don't you believe me?
I don't know. I don't know.
Tell her, Doc. Tell her.
Tell her what?
Tell her the truth. Tell her I didn't do it for a reason. Explain to her how it was. You know how it happened. Go on, tell her. Tell her.
Come now, old boy. This is not helping you.
What'll they do with me?
Why? Now, look, it's early yet. It's 9 o'clock. You'd better try to get some sleep in this afternoon. I'll take you back to the city and make arrangements for you to go someplace where you can have a nice rest.
What kind of a place?
Why, rest home. I know a nice, quiet place.
You don't mean a rest home. I know what you're thinking. You mean an asylum. You think I'm insane, both of you.
Now, Ambrose.
Well, why don't you say it?
Ambrose, if you don't control yourself, something will happen to you.
I won't go to an asylum. Do you hear? Do you hear me?
Stop it.
I won't stop it. You don't care about me. You're both cold and heartless. You want me to be locked up, both of you.
Ambrose, please. Please, calm down.
Keep away from him, Doris.
See? Keep away from him. He's a dangerous lunatic. A killer.
You don't calm down. I'll have to use force.
You try it. You just try it. I'm going out that door, and don't you try to stop me.
You run away like this, you stamp yourself as a hopeless lunatic. They'll find you.
They won't find me, and I won't be locked up.
Ambrose, please.
No, I'll kill myself first.
You're a fool, Ambrose. A mad fool.
Now you've done it, Ambrose. You've really made a mess of things. You're a fugitive now, They'll throw out a dragnet. You'll have to run and hide and sneak, afraid of every shadow. You'll have to run, Ambrose. Hide and sneak and run for the rest of your days. Ambrose Brent, fugitive.
Henry's dead. Henry's dead. Ambrose Brent, fugitive.
Ambrose Brent, 5 feet 8.
150 pounds.
Brown hair.
Blue eyes.
Wanted for murder.
Fugitive. Lunatic. Padded cell. Lunatic. Padded cell. Lunatic.
Hurry, Ambrose, hurry. More gas. Step on it.
What's that?
A sign, Ambrose, and a red flag swinging in the road. 2 men in black rubber coats. Too late to turn around now.
What's your hurry, mister? Driving pretty fast for a storm like this, ain't you?
Who are you? What do you want?
State police.
What are you stopping me for?
We're stopping everybody.
Why?
We're looking for someone.
Looking for someone? Who?
A fugitive.
A murderer?
We didn't say what he'd done. Let's have a look at your driver's license.
Driver's license? Why, that's funny. I must have...
left it in your other suit, huh? Step out. Let's have a look at you. Hey, you come back here.
What's eating him? He must be nuts. Well, I could have plugged him, but I just shot in the air.
Just as well. He wasn't Mike Coretti. I could make 2 of him.
Know where you are now? Recognize this room? That's right. It's the room of death, where Henry was murdered the night before. His body has been removed, but the pad on his desk is still there, smeared with a large brown stain. There are 5 people in the room: Dr. Fenwick and Doris Brent, Jameson the Brent's butler, Inspector Fields, and Carnes of the District Attorney's office. The inspector is speaking.
District Attorney Carnes had an appointment with Henry Pierce. It was he who discovered the body this morning. Pierce had been dead about 7 hours. Right, Mr. Carnes?
That's right, Inspector Fields.
We attempted to reach Mr. Brent and were told by Jameson, the butler, that he left town at 2 in the morning. He told us about the place in the mountains, and there we reached you, Mrs. Brent.
You've no idea where your husband is, Mrs. Brent?
Not the slightest.
Your butler said you had gone to Palm Beach.
Yes, I started for Palm Beach, but I changed my mind and went to the mountains.
And your husband came there last night?
Yes, it was about 5 in the morning.
About 9 o'clock. I flew up to the cabin, got there a few minutes before 9.
Why did you go there, Doctor?
Well, I advised Ambrose to take a rest. He's been working too hard and was heading for a nervous breakdown. When I learned of Henry's death, I went to tell him about it.
Doctor, you visited Henry Pierce here last evening.
I did. He phoned me to come over. I got here about 11. He'd made a new will and wanted me to witness it and asked if I would serve as executor. I read it and signed it.
I see. In whose favor was the will drawn?
Well, the old will left everything to Ambrose. Henry had no living relative. But because of Ambrose's mental condition, he decided to leave everything to Doris, Mrs. Brent.
That's correct. I found the will on the desk.
Was Ambrose Brent your patient?
Yes, of course.
What was his trouble?
Too much work. He had a great responsibility.
Did you think he was losing his mind?
No.
Did he think so?
Well, he was terribly upset. He'd been having hallucinations.
Doctor, when was the last time you saw him prior to finding him in the mountains?
The evening before Henry died. I wrote him a prescription.
Mm-hmm. And where did you go after you left Henry Pierce last night?
I told my servants that I was going out of town for a holiday, but it was storming so when I left Henry that I decided to stay at my club.
Mrs. Brent, did your husband, Mr. Pierce, ever quarrel?
Not to my knowledge. They were the best of friends.
I see. Have you told us all you know, Dr. Fenwick?
No.
Then I think you should. What was it that bothered Ambrose Brent?
Well, he said he had been writing himself notes. They were all alike, in his own handwriting, and all said the same thing. I must kill Henry.
I didn't know this.
Certainly not. That was the patient's private business. I thought that if I could get him away for arrest, he'd pull out of it.
There you are, Carnes. Must have been on his mind.
Yes, but what's the motive? An unbalanced mind doesn't always need a motive.
Then you think Ambrose did it?
He loved Henry like a brother. If he did it, he was completely out of his mind. Believe me.
Ambrose.
What? Well, thank heaven. You finally came to your senses.
Come in, Mr. Brent.
I suppose you want to see me?
I'm Inspector Fields, Police Department. This is Mr. Carnes of the District Attorney's Office.
Yes, I know Mr. Carnes.
I thought you'd gone on a little vacation, Mr. Brent.
I had gone, but not on a vacation.
Mr. Pierce told me you'd gone for a couple of weeks.
I was going on a vacation, but something changed my mind.
Oh? What was that?
You know. You know why I've come back. Henry's dead, and I killed him.
When did you kill him?
I don't know. Must have been last night.
Why did you do it?
I wish I knew. I recall neither the crime nor the motive. But I'm sure I did it.
Why are you so sure you did it?
Because of these notes, 6 of them. I've been writing notes to myself for weeks. Read them.
Are they in your own handwriting?
Certainly. But I don't remember writing a one. I must have some form of amnesia.
Hmm?
When I heard Henry was dead, I tried to run away. I couldn't stand the thought of an asylum, but the faster I ran, the more I hated myself, so I came back to get it over with. It's a great relief.
Now, Mr. Brent, compose yourself. Mr. Brent, did you know that Henry Pierce made a new will last night, leaving his estate to your wife?
What? Why should he do that?
Well, perhaps he was worried about you.
Of course. Why shouldn't he be? He knew I was acting strangely.
Take a look at this will. Is that Henry's signature?
Certainly.
You're sure it isn't your writing?
It is not. I couldn't copy his signature if I tried. It's just a bunch of scrawls.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Mr. Brent, take this pad and write on it, I must kill Henry.
Please, isn't that being a bit brutal?
Go ahead, write it.
There you are.
Good. Now write the date on it.
They weren't dated.
Well, write it anyway. Write the date in numerals. Don't name the month.
There it is.
Thank you. Now you write the same, Mrs. Brent.
There.
Thanks. Now you, Dr. Fenwick.
There you are.
Mm-hmm. Well, the notes you got were certainly in your own handwriting, Mr. Brent.
I told you that. Why waste so much time? I came back to get it over with. I'm tired.
There. You need some sleep, old man. You'll feel better after you've had a nap.
I can't sleep. I haven't slept for days.
You should have. You've been taking that medicine I gave you.
I didn't get it. I didn't want to sleep. I just wanted to get away. Here's the prescription, still in my pocket.
Prescription? May I see it, please? Thank you. What is this medicine, Doctor?
It's intended to induce sleep, but he's so stubborn he wouldn't take it. If he had, this wouldn't have happened.
Oh. Inspector, take a look at this note written just now by Mr. Brent.
I must kill Henry.
And the date.
5/14/42.
May the 14th, 1942. Now, Mrs. Brent's note.
I must kill Henry. 5/14/42. The same.
Mm-hmm. And now Dr. Fenwick's.
I must kill Henry. 14/5/42.
And now read the date on the will.
14/5/42. What does that mean? There aren't 14 months.
And now look at the date on this prescription.
14/5/42. Well, I'll be darned. What does it mean?
It means that Dr. Fenwick was educated in Europe, where they indicate the day of the month first, then the month. The 14th day of the 5th month.
What? Well, you're crazy. Are you accusing me of this?
It means that the doctor, not Henry, wrote this will, and if he wrote the will, he must have killed Henry Pierce. And if he killed Henry, he must have had a motive. And I've guessed that motive.
You're out of your mind. What motive would I have?
You also wrote those notes and left them for Ambrose to find. You're an expert at handwriting, Dr. Fenwick. You figured that Ambrose would be declared insane, and Henry's as well as Ambrose's property would go to Doris with you as executor in complete control.
I don't believe it. Ridiculous.
And this is what I hate to say at this moment, but I think it's true. Dr. Fenwick, tell him about you and Mrs. Brent.
That's a lie.
Tell him, Doctor. That's what's back of the whole thing. You're stuck. You might as well tell him.
All right. All right, I wrote the will. I wrote the notes. I am in love with Doris. I have been for years. She was in love with me.
Doris.
I'm sorry, Henry.
But she had nothing to do with Henry's death. Not a thing. I came here that night disguised as Ambrose. Henry didn't hear my voice. I only whispered. He thought it was you. That's all. Sorry, Doris.
Stop him!
Good Lord. Well, the doctor is dead.
The doctor's dead, yes. But that's not all, not quite. There's something troubling the inspector, and you, Ambrose, and you too, Doris. How was it that Mr. Carnes first got wise to the doctor? How did the doctor slip up? How did he show his hand? I know. And so does District Attorney Carnes. Go ahead, Mr. Carnes. Tell us.
Well, the doctor said he had gone to the cabin to tell Ambrose of Henry's death. He arrived at the cabin at 9 a.m. I didn't discover the body till 10 a.m. and gave strict orders that it was not to be announced until we'd inspected everything thoroughly. Therefore, the only way the doctor could have known about the murder was to have been present when it happened.
So you see, the doctor didn't go to the cabin to inform Ambrose. He went there to meet Doris. And when he was surprised by Ambrose, he used the death of Henry as an excuse for his coming.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Tonight's Whistler story was written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originated from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you the incredible story of the Draught of Death. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. Wait a minute. Have you heard the weird tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
Sunday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak. And so I tell you the amazing story of House of Greed. A taxicab rolls through the night and comes to a stop before a brownstone mansion on West 52nd Street. The driver opens the door, and a handsome, well-dressed man steps out, pays the driver, slips quickly up the stairs, fumbles with a bunch of keys, but the door opens.
Oh, hello, Jackson.
Mr. Talbot, welcome home, sir.
Where's Mrs. Talbot?
Oh, she left 3 days ago. Went to the place in the Catskills. There's a note on your desk, sir.
Oh, good.
Your brother, Frank, is waiting in the library.
Oh. Hello, Frank. What do you want?
John.
Now, look, Frank, I told you the last time I'd give you no more money.
Oh, but it isn't gambling debts this time. I'm reforming. I'm going to settle down and work.
Work?
I met a big cattleman from South America. He has a very lovely daughter. And she talked her father into letting me buy an interest in the business.
How much?
$10,000. Oh, I'm sure I'll make good, John.
Oh, very well. I don't mind doing something like that for you. When are you leaving?
Tomorrow. I've had a plane reservation for 4 days. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the check, John. You're a swell guy. Tell Mary goodbye for me.
Yeah, she's up in the Catskills.
Yeah, so Jackson told me.
Good Lord.
What's wrong?
She hasn't gone to the Catskills. I can't understand this. What on earth does she mean?
Well, what is it?
Well, read it.
John, this life is too lonely. I can't go on like this, so I'm leaving you. I found someone else who is more considerate of me.
But
First, I'm going home, and from there, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, but things just didn't work out for us. Mary.
Someone who's more considerate of her. Why, I've given Mary everything her heart desired. She must be out of her mind.
Of course, you have been gone a lot, and women get crazy ideas.
It's knocked the pins right out from under me.
Yes, I can see that. You'd better take it easy for a while.
Yes, I feel, I don't know, kind of sick. All of a sudden, nothing seems to matter.
Well, maybe she'll wake up before she gets too far. Perhaps I'd better cancel my trip for a few weeks until you get straightened out.
No, never mind. I'll pull myself together. I wouldn't have you sidetrack your plans for the world. I think you better go now, Frank. I'd rather be alone.
All right. But don't do anything foolish.
What do you mean?
Well, if you brood about it, you're liable to get some crazy ideas and end up really holding the sack.
Good luck, Frank. Lots of luck.
Thanks. Goodbye, John.
John sits for the remainder of the night staring over the top of his desk. The next morning, he closes the house and starts on Mary's trail, which takes him to London, Paris, Berlin, all over Europe, but to no avail. Finally, he drops his active interest in his business and goes to live in his country estate. Then one day, 14 years later, he finds himself on a honeymoon. He has married a widow named Helga.
Well, John, dear, we got away without too much trouble.
Well, it does seem a bit silly, rice and honeymoons at our age.
Our age? Well, you sound as though we're a couple of old grannies. I'm 36 and you're 45, and I certainly don't feel old.
Why, of course you're not, Helga.
Oh, dear. John, now that the wedding's over, there's something I haven't told you.
Oh, now
I haven't said anything because I was afraid it might make a difference.
I know what it is. You have a son.
How did you know?
I wondered when you were going to mention it.
Oh, well, he finishes school this year. It's been quite a struggle putting him through college. But he's very bright. Paul has studied hard and managed to cram 2 years into one. Could he spend the summer with us?
Why, of course.
Oh, John, you're a darling.
I should be able to find a place for him in the business. Oh, ask him to come down to our place in the country.
Oh, thanks, John. You're wonderful.
So Helga's son, Paul, came to spend the summer at the country place. And he stayed the next winter, and the following summer, and the next winter. Now it is summer again, and Paul is still visiting his mother and stepfather. The first year, he worked in the office every day until noon, and found business very boring. So finally, he quit going to the city at all.
But, Mother, I've looked the whole thing over, and there's nothing there that interests me.
Well, you could learn about the business. You seem to be able to learn anything else you want to.
But I don't care for business.
Oh, you're a fool. I worked my knuckles to the bone to give you an education. I married John Talbot to give you a chance to do something. John has no children. It's a huge business. And one day you could control the whole thing. I'm disappointed in you, Paul. You're letting me down.
Well, it seems to run very well without too much attention from him. If we were to inherit it, why wouldn't it continue to run just as well?
You either get down to that office or you pack your things and get out.
Why should I? I'm perfectly satisfied.
I'll tell John to make you go.
And suppose I tell him what you just said? That you married him just to give me a chance? Married him for his money?
You wouldn't dare.
And suppose I tell him that you were never divorced from Father? That he's still down in South America, still wandering around trying to find a gold mine.
If you dare open your mouth, I'll...
Hello there. How are you, Helga? What's this I heard about South America?
Oh, why, nothing, darling. Paul was just talking about someone he met from down there.
Who do you know from South America, Paul?
Fellow, I met him today.
Were you in the city today?
No, I was down the village.
I didn't suppose you'd been out of the house today. What's his name?
Why, I don't remember.
I didn't think you would. You haven't been out of this house for 3 days. Paul, I think you're the laziest man I've ever met.
All right. I'll start back to the office Monday. If that's what you and Mother want me to do, I'll do it.
Why, I'm sorry I wasn't here for dinner, Helga. I was detained in town. I have quite a bit of work to do. I'll be here in the library for 2 or 3 hours.
Very well, John. I won't bother you. I'll go on upstairs. Besides, I want to have a little talk with Paul. Good night, dear.
Good night, Helga. What on earth? Who's out there? Who are you? What do you want out there?
May I come in? I want to talk with you.
Well, why do you come to the library windows? Why didn't you ring the bell?
I didn't want to cause a disturbance.
Disturbance? What do you mean?
May I come in?
Yes, come ahead.
Don't you know me, John?
Good Lord. Mary.
I'm sorry, John. I had to talk with you. I saw the light in the library.
What do you want?
I need your help.
Where have you been all these years?
Oh, every place. Are you still filled with resentment?
It's been too long ago. At first I was. I followed you all over Europe, but never quite caught up with you. Now I'm glad I didn't. There's no telling what I might have done.
I'm sorry, John. I was a fool, and I know that now. May I sit down?
Why, of course. Have you a cold?
Yes, I can't seem to shake it. I've had it for weeks.
See, I hate to mention it, but you look a bit shabby, Mary. Aren't you doing well?
Oh, well, yes. Yes, I'm doing all right.
Are you?
You've married again.
Yes.
And your wife is here?
Yes.
Then I'll be as brief as possible. I wouldn't want her to know that I was here.
You want me to help your husband?
No, not that. I have no husband.
What about the man you said was more considerate of you?
He left me 4 years after the baby was born.
Baby? You have a child?
Yes, John. She's 17 now.
And where's the man?
I don't know, and I don't care. Oh, John, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I should have known better. But he practically carried me off my feet. And I learned later, to my sorrow, that he was not worth shooting.
Where's your daughter?
She's in a school in Vermont. I've worked hard to give her an education. I've done everything I could do to give her a chance. I've not seen her very often. But now, well, I'm sort of cracking up. I've been ill a lot, and I seem to have trouble getting a job.
Job? What kind of a job?
Why, any kind of a job.
What have you been working at, Mary?
Oh, John, I've made such a miserable mess of it. I was never able to face things. I always took the line of least resistance.
What a shame.
And now I've come to the end of my rope. Joan has finished school. She's a lovely girl, John. I can't let her know. I can't take her with me.
Why not?
She deserves so much more. She deserves a chance in life. I want you to do something for her.
Why should I?
Because she's your daughter, John.
My daughter?
Yes, yours and mine. She was born 7 months after I left. Here's the birth certificate. Please, John, do something for her. She shouldn't be made to suffer for my mistake. She's innocent.
Well, does she know I'm her father?
No. And she doesn't remember the other men. Here, I'll give you her address. Fernwood College. And I'll write a letter to her explaining all about you.
Well,
Oh, John, you could do so much for her. She's a young lady now. And so lovely. Please see her. I know you'll fall in love with her.
All right, Mary. I'll see her. I'll have her come down here.
Oh, John, I'm so sorry. So sorry for everything I've done. Please forgive me.
I've forgotten everything, Mary. Oh, wait a moment. Take this check and do something about that cough.
No, thanks, John. I won't need it.
You better take it.
Thanks. I'll be all right in a few days. The cough will be gone. Good night, John.
Good night, Mary.
If he brings this girl here, do you realize what it means, Mother?
Yes?
It's his own daughter. If he falls for her, if he likes her, he'll change his will and split the estate.
She's entitled to it, isn't she?
Now, why should she be? Strange girl he didn't even know existed. Popped up out of nowhere and cheats us out of half the estate.
I know what you mean.
We've been here for several years. You're his wife. It isn't fair.
What would you do about it, Paul?
I'd see that she didn't get anything.
How would that be possible?
Suppose she didn't like it here. Supposing that before John got attached to her, the things happened that would make her dislike everything here. If she runs away soon enough, he won't change his will.
Perhaps you're right. And if she doesn't?
Then maybe something could happen to John. Later, something could happen to the girl. But in any event, the will must not be changed.
Where do you get such ideas?
That, Joan, dear, is the story of your mother. I trailed them all over Europe, but never quite caught up with them.
You mean you planned to kill them?
Kill them? I was filled with revenge, but I finally gave up the chase and returned here to wait. I knew that sooner or later she'd show up.
But it's been so long ago. Surely you've lost the desire for revenge by this time.
Time heals many wounds, my dear.
If you had caught up with them and satisfied your revenge, what good would it have done?
Quite right, my dear, quite right. Tell me, have you no recollection of this man? You can recall nothing about him?
Absolutely nothing. Remember, I was only 4 when he went away.
And you do believe that I'm your father?
What else am I to believe? Mother proved that with the birth certificate. Proved that I'm Joan Talbot, not Joan Evans, as I've always believed.
Of course. And would you like to remain here?
Why, yes, I think I would,
There
but
seems to be a doubt. Why do you hesitate?
I don't know. From all the evidence, I belong here. I have a legal right, but... Well, I can't seem to find words to express it.
Express what?
From the moment I stepped in the door of this house, I've had a strange feeling. A cold, chilly sensation of fear.
Well, is it something you feel about me?
Yes.
You're afraid of me.
No, I don't think so.
Is it Helga?
Well...
Is it Paul?
Oh, please don't ask me anymore. I don't know what it is.
Well, what has Paul said to you?
Nothing. No one said anything. It's just a premonition of evil. There's something wrong. Something horribly wrong in this house.
Oh, you're imagining things, Joan. It's all in your mind. It will pass as suddenly as it came. You're young, Joan, impressionable, and you've suddenly found your life turned upside down. A new environment to which you've never become accustomed, but you'll get used to it. You're my daughter. I want you to have what you deserve, what is rightfully yours.
I understand. And I'll try to overcome this feeling.
Yeah, that's better. You're a lovely girl, Joan. An intelligent girl. I know I'm going to be very proud of you.
Thank you. I think I'll go to bed now.
Well, it is rather late. Good night, dear. See you in the morning.
Hello?
Paul, what are you doing here on the stairs in the dark?
I wanted to tell you something.
What?
You're very, very beautiful. Your eyes, your hair, just like gold. Gold moonbeams. And soft.
Paul!
And your throat. Your throat is slender and soft. Like...
Take your hands off my neck. Paul!
I don't know many girls. Girls don't like me.
Let me by.
You don't like me either, do you?
Well,
I know. I can tell. Elsie didn't like me either. She was afraid of me.
Who's Elsie?
She was a girl in the village. She worked here in the summertime. No one knows what became of her.
What?
I don't remember what happened to her. But her throat was slender and white, like yours.
Let me by.
Joan.
What? Who's here? Who's in this room?
Don't turn on the light.
Helga. What do you want?
I must talk to you.
What about?
You're not safe here. No one is safe in this house. You must leave at once.
What do you mean? What's wrong?
The house is wrong. It's filled with evil and hate. I know.
Why do you stay?
I can't leave. It's too late. But you must go at once.
Do you mean that Paul?
That's part of it.
And what else?
John.
John? What about him?
I can't tell you. But you must believe me.
What about my father?
He doesn't believe he is your father. And he's planning to get revenge on your mother through you.
I don't believe you. I won't.
Get away while you have a chance.
No. I won't run from it. I'll face it, whatever it is.
Very well. Good night, Joan.
Now it is nearly midnight. John still works at his desk in the library. But outside, a man steps softly through the trees upon the terrace, quietly opens the library doors, and steps in.
Hello, John.
Frank. Good Lord.
Yes, Brother Frank. Well, why don't you say something? Come in, or get out, or something.
Why, come in, Frank. You fairly knocked me off my feet. I didn't know whether you were alive or dead.
It's been a long time, John.
Why haven't you written me?
Well, I was hoping I could make a go of that ranch and pay you back, but I guess I was just born unlucky.
Oh?
They had a revolution and cleaned Senor Gonzalez out and me with him.
That's too bad, Frank.
But you're still the same steady, reliable John. Yes, sir, I've tried my darndest to be like you, but, well, it just isn't in me. I don't have what it takes. The last 2 years, I've had a pretty tough time. I caught some sort of a malarial fever down there, and it's impossible to get rid of it. Keeps recurring.
You certainly don't look well. You've aged quite a bit. You better have Dr. Richards look you over tomorrow.
Huh. She's still kicking around? I thought he'd be gone long ago. How's your new marriage turned out?
Oh, very well. Very well indeed.
Good. Ever hear from Mary?
Yeah.